place to get it is email happyagent@laerrealty.com, because then it goes to our support team and they will get you the answer. Plus on the back end, we're monitoring it to see how quickly they respond to you guys. So I am in our LAER Career Den. Your password is, your username is your email account. Usually it's your LAER email. But one thing I wanted to show you, many of you guys have a actual LAER email account. So when you join our company, I don't know why this thing keeps popping up. It's very weird. When you join our company, we give you the ability to either have an actual LAER Realty Gmail account, so you can log into your account, check your emails, or we set up a forwarding. If you have a LAER account, I just wanted to show you that you can download through your G Suite the Jostle intranet. So you'll see that I have as one of my apps here, the Jostle account. So while I'm in my email or while I'm in my G Suite, I can just click over and get into our Career Den. Also would like to point out that if you download the Jostle app, that then you'll have mobile access to literally everything that is within our site. So right now I'm in our Career Den. There's about 400 plus different tools that you will have access to. The cool thing is that this has great search capabilities. So whatever you need in your business, listing presentation, a flyer, a script, if you just type it into the little search box up at the top, it's going to find all the instances within the Career Den where you might be able to find what you're looking for. So a couple things that I want to point out that I think that you would want to have immediate access to. First of all, we have this front dashboard, and these are just articles that are written by myself or members of the team. So each week we put out new content. One big piece of content we put out last week was how to win against Redfin. So at least in Massachusetts, many of our agents have had to come up against a Redfin agent at like a listing presentation. And basically Redfin is a discount real estate agency. So if you click on this, we tell you how to win against a Redfin agent. We've given you marketing videos, 3 different marketing videos that you could use. I think everybody should watch those no matter what, because even if it's not Redfin, at some point in your business or your career, I guarantee you will come up against somebody who is doing real estate for less money than what you're willing to charge. So you need to understand how to defend your value proposition. So we did one video, and the first 2 videos here we did talking to the consumer. So it's like something you could just forward. They're on our YouTube station. So you just forward the links to your client, and it explains why, like being one of the things Redfin tells their clients is that if you're a buyer, you can go onto their website and make a direct offer to the seller to cut out a buyer agency fee. So we have one on why being an unrepresented buyer is a very bad idea. We also have one on why discount agencies cost sellers more money. So that's on there. And then we have like a funny, short, 3-minute like cartoon video on why being an unrepresented buyer is a bad idea. But what I would say is watch those and learn the scripts, because I guarantee you will need those scripts at some point in your business. And then if you go down, it gives you the talking points of what you need to know about the 1% listing fees and what their unrepresented buyer model is. Couple other things just on the front dashboard. So when we feel like it's something that you should really know, we send out, when we do the post, we send out an email with it, so you'll get an email in your inbox that says a new post was just published, what it's about, and then you can click over and read it. We also publish once a month, which is one of our top 10 tools that we cover in the first section of your book. We also publish once a month a ROAR report. This is a newsletter. The ROAR report is a newsletter meant for your customers. So when we publish that, we publish it at the end of the month for the following month. We publish it here. Then your admin in your office is supposed to email you and say, hey, we just published this. Do you need me to customize it for your business? It takes 5 minutes to put in your photo, your contact information, and now you have a cool tool that you could send out to your entire database. So the ROAR report, again, is a customer newsletter, and you can print it in hard format and mail it, or we also show you how to upload it into MailChimp so that you can just send it as an email. Anytime we add new stuff, we'll send out, like we recently made the Real Trends 500 list. That's just earmarks us as a top 500 brokerage in the country. So anytime we have stuff like that, we have our marketing team create flyers for it. We put it in the library, but then we publish an article. We send it out to you guys and say, hey, we just did a new piece. This is where you can find it in the library. You'll also see lots of articles on sustainability. I believe Craig, our Chief Sustainability Officer, will be here today to talk about why it's awesome that you have access to somebody who understands like solar panels, green energy, how that affects the value of property. So all of this is just on the main board. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see like a little tweet dashboard. This is where people will just send out little messages. We have it automatically set up so it'll tell you when you log in who the birthdays are for the day. So you can like, or you can respond when it's somebody's birthday. Also, over on the left-hand side, this is the map of everything that you might need access to. First of all is events. So all of the events that we host at our company are put onto the event schedule here. You'll see it's a little bit light. Usually we stop most of our training programs throughout the summer, spring and summer, because nobody attends because people are selling a lot of real estate. If this were October, you would see a million. Hello, hi. Grab a seat.
We have more coming.
Oh, awesome.
Jeff came to surprise us.
Awesome.
Danvers is federal representative.
Excuse me, I'm gonna get my stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Plymouth has arrived.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Super packed.
yeah. If you guys get hot, please raise your hand. I did turn it down, but I want to make sure there's air circulating, and I'll try to keep
I leave this open,
I
yeah.
know, yeah.
Excuse me.
Hello.
Oh my God.
Plymouth is here. Where would you like to be?
There's a
folder, it's for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me slide this.
So this is where all of the events are. Like I said, there's a seat right here, Jeff, right in the middle, or yeah, or over here, but I'd just take that one. We won't make you stand the whole time. When you are registering for events, so like I said, if you were here in the fall or winter, there'd be a million different programs that you'd be able to see. Here's what I want you to know. You guys are invited to anything. So we move all of the training classes around. One of the reasons we don't have like a training facility is because of our size. We have 31 offices. We do move our trainings all around to the different offices. So we do our best to just kind of make it work wherever the training class happens to be that week. But what you'll see is training classes all, hello.
Hi.
And there's a manual there.
What you will see is training classes all across the company. You're welcome to attend anything. What I will also say is that real estate agents are notoriously bad at RSVPing for stuff. So it helps us a great deal if you do RSVP so that we have an idea of how many people are coming. When you RSVP, you'll see it'll tell you who's going to a particular event. The reason we do that is we want you to see who else from, for example, you could click on this and see 2 people from your office are coming. So you might be able to carpool. You can also set it up so that you'll get email reminders. So down at the bottom you will see, you can email this event to somebody, you could add it to your calendar, and you could set up reminder emails so that you don't forget to attend the event. But it is very helpful to us when you do RSVP. Next piece, one other piece on the event schedule. The other thing that we add is we are a member of about 7 different board of realtors. We're a member of 5 different MLSs. When we see training classes that we think would be helpful from your board, we try to add those too. So you might occasionally see something that is not a LAER offered class. It's something being offered at the board, and we just want you to know about it. The discussion section. The discussion piece is one of the coolest pieces of our career den, and basically this is an area that if you're struggling with something and you want input from your peers, you can go here and ask a question, and you'll get feedback from all of the different agents at the company. What I would say first is before you put in a discussion, do a quick search of what you need help with right up here and see if somebody's already created the discussion. So you might be able to just hop in on somebody else's discussion. But here's where this is helpful. One story I love to share is not too long ago, one of our agents from East Longmeadow was working on a postcard to send out to her client base. And so she posted a photo under the discussion. She said, "This is the postcard I'm about to send out to my clients. Would love any feedback you guys have for making this a better postcard." And so Alex, who is out in our East Longmeadow office, which is like 2 hours away from here, who would not normally get access to 100, 400, 500 agents, had all these agents commenting on things that she could do to make the postcard even better. So what I believe is that at the end of the day, her postcard, her mailing came out so much better because she posted it out there and got feedback from people who have already done postcard mailings. So other stuff that you'll see on here, like here's one on client gifts. You'll see people have issues on a deal problem they might be having. They'll post it out here just to see how other real estate agents in the company would handle it. We have almost 500 real estate agents, lots of talent within our company, so why not harness it? Get some help from your peers. By the way, all of that is awesome for getting referrals as well, because one of the great things that we have the opportunity to do at our company is create relationships with agents who are not in our marketplaces. And what I'll say is Alex, who is out in East Longmeadow, regularly uses this so that she's getting feedback and starting conversations with agents from all over Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And I would say on average, Alex probably gets 5 referrals a year from agents from other offices who have deals out in East Longmeadow. So she's creating relationships with people just for asking for feedback. So it's like she's getting great stuff to make her mailings better, to get help from her peers, but she's also creating relationships, which means referral business. We also have a complete people directory. So let's pull up our people. This is a complete directory of every real estate agent and staff member at LAER. It is also includes like our partners at Ross Mortgage are in there. So if you click on any of these people, it will show you their name, their phone number. We do like to include addresses, although sometimes agents do go on and delete that out. Initially when we set it up, we add a photo, we add your home address, like we The reason we do that is we want you guys to be able to send notes to each other, like note cards, stuff like that. But you can go in and edit all of it. So if there's something you don't want in there, you can just go in and delete it out. We put a bio in there for everyone. And let me show you a few cool things you could do. First of all, this does have a capability that you could chat. Usually the way people use this is if you're just looking for somebody that you need to call somebody quickly. But other ways that this is used is you might want to refer out somebody. So let's say that you have a referral that is not in your marketplace. You could type in a town name and it's going to show you any agent who is working out of an office in that town or who has mentioned that town in their profile. Also, it's early in the morning, so there's not a lot of people on here, but let's see. This does have a capability that you can, I don't know why this is not working. Anybody that has a green dot, oh, here's one right, Claudia's on it. Are you?
My computer, it's on.
Oh. So anybody that has a green,
Chelsea.
so the cool thing is that if they have a green dot, that usually means that they're on it. So the reason that's helpful is you could direct message. So I could send a direct message and a little thing would pop up that would say that Stacy's messaging you or whomever you are is messaging the other person. The other piece that I love to use this for is if you go to search, and let's say dog. I'm going to type in the word dog. So, if you are doing a referral to somebody, and there's something that you want to make sure. So, for example, let's say that you have a referral of a client, and you want to send that referral to one of the 500 real estate agents, but you know that this person is a nut about dogs. Like, you would not want to refer this person to an agent who hates animals. Then I just typed in dog, and it shows you a list of all of the agents who talk about their dog in their profiles. So now you could quickly find somebody who would be a good match. So it has a pretty cool keyword search. All right, the heart and soul of the Career Den is our library. We add to the library every single week. There's new stuff being added on here. What you will find here is listing presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages, books like scripts and dialogues. We have a booklet on how to build a team. We have video marketing, social media marketing. You should not have to create anything ever from complete scratch. Like, we've given you a template for everything in your business, and we continue to add great templates. So let's go through some of the more important ones. First section is if you're growing a team, we have a section called LAER Teams. And basically these are articles, checklists, and worksheets for anybody that is trying to create a team. So first of all, we have a guide on like how to build a great team and things to look for. Also, if you're running a team, these checklists are kind of awesome. These are checklists like you need to have systems in place for how you want an open house handled, how you want a new listing handled, how you want a new buy-side client handled. So we created some templated checklists. We also have some cool worksheets like to track buyer agent conversion and the profitability of your team. The next section is realtor rules, regulations. You'll see on here that we've posted state rules and regulations for at least Mass and New Hampshire so far. We put in like lead paint information, a couple things, like Mass lead paint law, consumer brochures on lead paint. We put information on fair housing. So a few things I want to point out. Number one, when it comes to the compliance and making sure you're following the laws, if you have not closed the deal with us yet, what you will eventually realize is that we are on top of making sure that your files are compliant. Like we make sure that the lead paint is filled out properly. So we put great emphasis on making sure that the most important pieces of the law that you guys are upholding. So like we have all the laws in here so that you can go back and get a refresher, but the things that affect your license or cause huge fines are like fair housing, lead paint. So that's why we're so on top of making sure that we review every file that comes through our doors to make sure you guys are protecting your license, our license, and taking care of the customer. One cool one that I like to show people, if you go under realtor rules, regulations, and laws, if you go under steering in schools, I think this is, oh no, maybe it's fair housing. Yeah, so if you go under fair housing, there's a link called Fair Housing Advertising Words and Phrase List. This is kind of a cool download. Especially if you're newer in the business, you have to be super careful that you're not violating a fair housing law when you're advertising a listing, especially like in MLS. And some of the things that you might not even realize that you're saying something that you can't say is, for example, you can't say that a home is in walking distance to whatever, because that is a potential fair housing violation against somebody with a disability.
So we had a meeting and one of the questions was, how about walk-in closet?
It's a good question. I'd steer away from it.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
had said based on what you'd, based on this list, but
Yes.
it's not on there, so.
Yeah, it's a good point. I still see on MLS, people do, like MLS is supposed to like field C that when somebody posts that so that they can send you an email and say you can't say that. And I'd say a great deal of the time they do, but you could tell it's not like a computer algorithm that's picking it up, it's a human. Because definitely I see listing sheets that say walking distance to local shops, and it's a fair housing violation that now has gone out to like Zillow, because everything gets fed to all of the websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, stuff like that. So I think that's just a helpful sheet to tell you the stuff to be careful not to say. There's systems in place, so there's people watching, MLS watches, we watch to try to catch it if somebody says something, but just be hyper alert on that, because sometimes you really mean no harm at all, but you accidentally say something that you shouldn't.
That's for all advertising, not just MLS, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Like if you were to do a newspaper ad or if you were to do a Facebook post, don't use the stuff.
So you can't even say in-law apartments and all those things anymore.
I'd be careful of that. I'd be careful of the word family, like great neighborhood for a family. That's potentially a violation. So that sheet has a bunch of different ones, but the ones that I specifically would be careful of are saying great family neighborhood, because that's
a great neighborhood and leave it at.
Yes, they can figure it
Get the word
out.
family.
Also, any mention of like churches, do not even say anything like religious related or walking. Those are the specific ones that I'd be a little bit careful of.
I have a question. If there is an in-law apartment or a house, part of the house is in-law, and you're not supposed to mention it.
Oh, I think I think you could say in-law. Let me think about it.
Oh, okay.
It was on the list.
Oh, was?
So I pointed it out. In-law
Under-
apartment. I'm like, okay.
Let's
you can say
look.
that
You could
either.
say like independent entrance.
It was
Oh,
on the-
Pear
it was
Suite.
on the list, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go. The rich and the
Let's
poor.
see.
I saw walking closet or walking distance all the time from
Oh, see, a lot of people do. I see it.
So-
MLS has been picking it up though.
Where
It's
did you see
number
it?
number 8 on the
Yeah,
list.
in-law apartment.
In-law apartment.
That's
That's
acceptable.
Oh, those are his. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's acceptable.
Okay.
Yes.
That's accept- okay. The unacceptable ones are the red ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. I thought everything on there. Okay.
Yeah.
We have quite a few of these.
Okay.
So what would be the wording for like a walk-in closet or
So walk-in closet is a good question. I don't know, because people do definitely use it. As far as like close proximity to downtown area would be fine. You just can't say,
close to,
yeah, just wouldn't say walking, because they say somebody in a wheelchair, potentially you're discriminating
You could
against.
probably say something like in-suite closet.
Yeah, I like that. And then I'd also be careful of saying anything, because sometimes you like to write like descriptions that like great for kids, like great, because it is, but don't say it, because now you're potentially discriminating against people who don't have.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So I had another realtor who told me, this lender is actually very picky. It's only picking people with 100K and above income.
I think that is a massive.
That's what I thought.
That is a massive
Like-
violation.
Okay. Like they didn't write it down, but the agent was advertising
Yes.
it to the other agent.
Yes, and what I will also tell you, was it a rental or a purchase?
Rental.
Okay, rentals, 100 times more liability than a sale. So I hate rentals personally. Anytime we've had, first of all, you guys pay E&O insurance on every transaction so that if you mess up or something happens, but most of the claims, we do a very tiny percentage of our business is rental. So we do 3,100 sales a year that are houses we sell, and we do like 100 rentals. Like they're not common for us. We've had more lawsuits in rentals than all the sales combined. So because now you have multiple, so just a quick one, like we had a fair housing issue and it was a rental, and it was 2 years ago. We ended up paying a big fine, and the seller had to pay the fine too, but this is what happened. The seller, one of our agents, received a call from somebody, so she had a rental listing, and somebody called and said, do you take, will the landlord take Section 8 housing? First of all, the answer must always be yes to that. So she said, I don't know. I don't even know if my seller or the landlord knows what Section 8 housing is. I don't know. So our agent was not doing anything rude or like trying to say that. She's like, I just don't know. I'll tell the landlord and see what they say. So she called the landlord and said, I have somebody who might be interested. Would you be open to Section 8? So the landlord said, I've never done Section 8. I have no idea. Send me some information. So our agent sends over information on Section 8 housing, on what the rules, etc. are. 2 days later, the same person calls back and says, I haven't heard anything. Will they take Section 8 housing? Again, our agent said, I don't know. I've given everything to the landlord to look at, but I haven't heard back yet. Anyways, that was the extent of the conversation, and we ended up with like a $25,000 fine because, and by the way, not only did we get fined, but the seller did as well for a fair housing violation, because the answer must always be like, you can't discriminate on because somebody's low income. That's why it's the same situation as that.
Yeah. I think.
Or if you just don't know how it works and you're trying to figure out how to accept the payment, you still have to figure it out.
Like in that
That's
situation, I
$25,000
told
I
the
have
people
to
I'm
figure it
helping
out.
find the apartment, I'm like,
Even if
let's
it's a
just show
yes.
them what their proof of income is.
Yes.
And I mean, that's the I think like that's the only thing in my hands that we can do.
Yes.
It's like we're gonna be showing proof of income. They can make the decision if
Yes.
they want them or not.
So
Yes.
that would have been okay had that person, rather than go into that conversation.
I would absolutely never go into that conversation. I
Right.
think you did exactly what you could do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think now, knowing as an agent, when you have a potential landlord situation that you have to upfront say you have to accept Section 8.
You cannot decline somebody because of Section 8.
Right, so you have to make them aware of that before you
Oh,
even list.
100%. They cannot decline somebody simply because they're Section 8. There is no requirement that because somebody applies and they are Section 8, you must take that person. There could be other reasons why.
Right.
I
The-
think basically you should just accept every application.
Exactly.
And then you just
Yeah,
you
based
just
on
based on their credit report and the
yeah,
background
credit.
check,
Yeah, absolutely.
And also the income. I think for rental, your income should be 3 times, at least 3 times of
The
your
rent.
monthly
Yeah.
Obligations.
salary. No, monthly rent. So and then you can based on these
Yes.
informations to reject.
Where does that $25,000 fine go?
To the state. It was
I was just gonna say that kind of sounds like a scam.
The whole thing was-
Did they call and set you up?
the whole thing. Who knows? But the thing that was sad is like our agent who was handling that deal owns a bunch of apartment buildings that have Section 8 tenants. She's like definitely. She's like, I don't care whether the landlord wants Section 8. I'm just trying to like inform them and do what my landlord wants. She's like. So she wasn't trying to discriminate against anybody, but just know that first of all, in any transaction, like you got to know what you can and cannot say. Specifically, huge liability in rentals. That's why we're also like you got to be super careful about taking fees. Make sure that you're following the laws, but we have it all on here. So, or if you, anytime you have a question and you want to make sure you're doing something right, if you email happyagent@laerrealty.com and say, this is what, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right, even if our team does not know the answer, then they would just put you, we do have somebody in our corporate counsel that would review it and make sure that everything is legit and that you're not going to get in trouble. But fair housing, so the big things when it comes to compliance, and again our people are monitoring everything so that your files are complete, but like agency disclosure, by law you have to present and have that agency disclosure form signed at your first meeting. It shouldn't be like when somebody's writing up an offer, it's supposed to be the first meeting with somebody. The FHA, like the lead paint disclosure. So if you watch any of our classes online, I'm a huge fan of like when you have your initial meeting with a buyer, that you take out this lead paint disclosure, like the whole form that explains what the lead paint law is. That is not the law. The law is that when an offer is going in on a property that everybody has to know if there's lead paint. But lead paint affects like the saleability of a property perhaps. So I feel it's something that should be discussed with the buyer way before, like just so they know what the law is. If you buy a property that was potentially has lead paint, this is what you need to know about it. But you have Happy Agent, so you can always, if you have questions, we started putting in, there is a legal hotline. So if you go to the state, Massachusetts Association of Realtors and New Hampshire Association has it as well. There is a legal hotline for the states where brokerages call in all the time with legal questions, and they do publish the answers to those questions. So we started uploading some of those because one of the things you'll find, especially in a highly competitive market like we have right now, is there's going to be all kinds of potential issues, not only legal issues, but procure and cause issues, like who actually is the client bound to pay, which real estate agent, because sometimes you have multiple real estate agents that show the same property. We also have under the mortgage section, so still under Realtor rules, regulations, and laws, we put in some links that we thought you might find helpful. So like information on FHA financing. We also put in like the FHA approved condo list so you could quickly see if a property is FHA approved. We also put down there the code of ethics. Next section is important LAER documents and licenses. So here we put copies of all of our licenses. Very rarely will you need this, but here's what sometimes people will ask for. If you're doing any type of REO or bank-owned business, we have agents doing hundreds of deals every year from REO. Typically, you're going to have to show your seller, the bank, proof that you have E&O insurance, proof that you have liability insurance. So we put copies of all of our insurance policies on here in case somebody ever asks you for the insurance policy. If you forget, you can just email Happy Agent and say, hey, I need our insurance policy. We're going to send you a link back to here that gives you that. Also, sometimes people, brokerages will say, hey, do you have a W-9 form? Especially when you're going to get paid, because they want to make sure they send us a 1099 at the end of the year. We've put the W-9 form on here. The other thing we put on here is if you're ever doing like a HUD home. So there's properties out there that are on the market. It's kind of like an auction through HUD, and they have a special way that you have to go in and make offers on those properties. So we put in all of our HUD NAID numbers. So this tells you what you need to know in order to put an offer in on a HUD home. You don't necessarily have to remember all this right now. Letterhead and cover sheets. In the old days, we used to order letterhead and cover sheets. I don't even know. I'm trying to get rid of fax numbers at every office. It's a little bit controversial because people think it matters, but I don't think people fax anymore, ever. So, anyways, if you should need a fax cover sheet, I'm going to delete this once I delete every fax number we have. Or if you need a piece of letterhead, like you can go on here and we got a few different types of letterhead. LAER Concierge Services. So we have tons of different partners at LAER. Some of the concierge services we have mortgage partners, closing and title partners. We have like Smart Storage Solutions. They're a great company if you want like a pod dropped off in front of the building. Hello.
There's a seat there.
Take the seat on
Right in the front row.
Why not?
We saved it for you.
Excellent.
So all these different partners are like, if you need anything, let's just say moving quotes, insurance quotes, somebody needs to have junk removed from their house. These are all the partners that do a lot of business with our agents. By the way, we do have a concierge team that could set up all the appointments for you or your seller. If you email myconcierge@laerrealty.com and say, hey, my client needs homeowners insurance, then we have a concierge team member that will reach out to you and say, okay, do you want me to call them, or do you want me to just have the insurance company call the people? How do you want to handle it? They'll also set up, oftentimes our clients need moving quotes. You could just email my concierge and say my clients need moving quotes for their property. Anytime you do an introduction to the concierge partners, usually the partner needs to talk to your client to get more information, like when they're moving, stuff like that. But some of the most used partners on here, for example, Take Junk is a huge one. They're a company that will come out, and for $675 for a full dump truck, they'll come out and their people will remove all the junk from a property. So if you have somebody that's got like tons of junk, just say, call Take Junk. They'll just come out and they send 3 men who will just take everything out of the property.
Quick question, is there a special discount that people get?
Yes, so that's why we put them under here. Anybody that's under here, first of all, you'll always be welcome to use whomever you want for any of the services. All of these companies we've negotiated discounts with, so we know, and some other things like you already met Tom, but he'll come in and do a presentation on his in-house LAER 3D services. You won't get for the money, so it is a massive discount for professional drone video, 3D tours, stuff like that. All of these companies, the amount they charge to you or to our customer is way less than what you would find on their website in general. There's also like a commercial lending company in here, a staging company, so there's all different types of perks in there. Real estate forms. For the most part, every time you need a real estate form, you'll find it on .loop. So this is not going to be the first place you would ever go to search for a real estate form. Anytime we come up with like an obscure form, so like an obscure form would be like a hold harmless. Anytime there's like a weird obscure form that an agent is looking for, because we see it come through Happy Agent, and the person will say like, I need a hold harmless, or somebody wants to store goods in a property before they close. Our legal team will help them come up with the form, and then we place it here in case somebody else needs it down the road. But for the most part, if you need a form for a listing, a buyer, anything, your first place to look would be on .loop. LAER training and tools. So what you will find under this section, we have a whole book of scripts and dialogues. Most of the stuff in this section is in this book today. There's a whole section on scripts and dialogues. There is, if you've ever been through, we have an awesome training program for new agents. It's like a 60-hour course for a new agent. That whole course is also available on YouTube, so you can go watch it on the LAER Training YouTube station. But all the downloads, so the workbooks that go with, if you're watching one of our LAER Training YouTube videos, and it tells you that there's a downloadable workbook, it's all under this section. It's in the LAER training section. You'll also find under here some awesome business planning tools. So we have all different types of business plans for real estate agents so that you can plan out for your year. Anytime we do a class, we upload the PowerPoints under our LAER training PowerPoint section. So you'll see tons of different PowerPoints. Usually after one of the trainers does a class, agents will say, oh, can you send me the PowerPoint? We've already uploaded all the PowerPoints to the site so you can download them and use them as you like. We'll talk about Boston Logic in a few minutes, but we have a guide to how to use your website. A link to LAER University, which I'll talk about in a second. This complete bootcamp book that you have right in front of you, this is all on here in a digital format. So if you want to access it like a year from now or 6 months from now, you don't know where your hard book is, it's all on here as well. Plus every time we do a class, we add something to the manual. So you can always get the most recent version of the Bootcamp Manual right here. LAER Marketing Center. I'm going to cover this in a little while, but the LAER Marketing Center has about 700 marketing pieces that you have access to, all templated materials. This is just if you click through here, it's just some helpful guides on how to use the LAER Marketing Center. And then the last one is just for our creators of first impressions, like our admins. LAER presentations and brochures. Couple different areas. By the way, I should have pointed this out earlier. If you click on any of these, so a guide to using the LAER Marketing Center. If you click on any of these, first of all, over on the right-hand side, it will tell you what kind of document you're downloading. Is it a PDF? Is it an MP4? Is it a Microsoft Publisher? Is it just a website link? The reason this matters is because if you ever have trouble downloading something from here, it's because your computer does not support whatever file type is being downloaded. The biggest one is we have a few documents on here that are on Microsoft Publisher. So if you do not have Microsoft Publisher, you're not going to be able to get the document. We've, over the last year, tried to move away from getting most of our stuff off of Publisher because many agents don't have it. And we also make sure that the common area computers in your office do have Publisher, so if you need access to it. But you can always see the type. And if you hover over anything, there's these little links, the 3 dots right here, and it will tell you, you see one, you can download it. You can email the link to somebody, except only a LAER agent can get into any of this. So if you send a link to like a customer, they're not going to be able to open the document you sent them. Let's see. So under the LAER presentations and brochures, there's a section on market share numbers and reports. Listing interview questions that we've added. So if you're going on a listing and you want like to know questions you could ask, you can get it there. We have a kids corner. So under the kids corner, we have a LAER coloring book and a word search. So all the words in the word search are on moving and LAER. These are awesome for open houses. So download some coloring books or some word searches and have them at your open houses. So if people with kids come through, you have something you can help occupy the kids. Property brochures. If you're going on a high-end listing and you need like a multi-page brochure for your for that property. Like, let's say it's a $1 million listing and you don't want a one-page listing sheet, you want a multi-page brochure. You can email happyagent@laerrealty.com and we will help you create the brochure. The template they're going to use right here is the property, this multi-page property brochure. So you could do it yourself if you have Microsoft Publisher. Listing and buyer presentation materials. I'm going to go into some of these in more detail in a little while. But we have some PowerPoint presentations on here. Listing presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages. This is what I will tell you about the presentations. Many real estate agents don't use any type of presentation when they go on a listing presentation. And a huge percentage of agents don't even use a presentation when they have a buyer appointment. So what many listing agents do is they show up at a property and they talk about their value proposition and they give them a CMA. What we have here is an actual PowerPoint listing presentation where you go through like the value of working with you and the value of working with LAER. The presentations, and we do, by the way, have one for buyer agents as well. So we have a few different versions on here for you to choose from. I'm going to go through one later so you can see kind of what's on there. These are totally editable, so you do not have to use the presentation in the version that we've created. Like, you can just use that as a template, download it, and say, I'm going to make it my own. But I will tell you that you will increase your conversion rates if you have a killer presentation. So one story I love to share is I am obsessed with real estate agents. So if you watch any of our training programs, like I have, from having owned real estate offices now for 20 years, this is what I'll tell you, is that if you've been in the business for 5 years and you're doing $2 million a year in sales, then what I could tell you is next year, you're probably going to do $2 million a year in sales. And the year after, you're going to do $2 million a year in sales. But what happens if you have a huge dream? Like, what happens if you want to be a $10 million agent or a $20 million agent? Because what's interesting about our business is that if you take our agent, Dan O'Connell, who works out of our Dracut office, Dan last year earned about $1.4 million in income. If you take a Dan O'Connell and you compare him, so he did, let's say, $60 million in business. If you compare him to an agent that's doing $2 million a year in business, their level of real estate knowledge is not different. Dan O'Connell doesn't know more about real estate than an agent who's doing $2 million. What he has is a different mindset. Like, he shows up differently to his appointments because of what's going on between his ears. So we have classes on this on our LAER training YouTube. Also, every Friday morning I do a coaching session live at 9 a.m. and a great deal of that is on mindset. But getting back to listing presentations, anytime an agent does like break out of the mold of where their business is, I take notice of it. So one example is Kristen Keegan. So Kristen works out of our Dracut office, and forever Kristen was a $2 million agent. Every year she does $2 million a year in business. And then a few years ago, she went from $2 million a year in business to $10 million a year in business. So I was like, holy cow, like, what did, bless you. Like, what changed? Yeah, what? So anytime I see it, I will reach out to the person and I'm like, we got to figure out like what was the difference. And she will even tell you. She said one of the things is that she said for the first 10 years of my business, I never did a presentation. Never. She said I'd show up at a listing presentation, I'd talk about my value, and I'd give them a CMA. And as far as buyers, I'd just start showing them properties. Didn't have a buyer agency contract signed, didn't do any presentation. And she's like, I always liked to tell myself that I had a great conversion, that everybody I sat with closed. But she said one year, the end of the year, I was doing my business plan and I sat down and said, is that really true? Like, does everybody I sit with actually work with me? And she said, what I realized is I do lose listings. And what I realized is my buyers are not sticking with me all the time. So she said, what can I do to increase conversion? And her big thing was, she said, one day I came in the office, I downloaded the listing presentation, and I customized it, and I went on my first listing presentation, and I won the listing. The point of having a listing presentation is you don't know what matters to the client. And so if you're leaving it up to a conversation, so for example, one of the little pieces we put in the presentation is like the commitment our company has to giving back to charity. And what if you go on a listing presentation, you have no PowerPoint presentation, you just kind of wing it, and you don't talk about your work that you do with charity or boards that you sit on or what your company does. And then you lose a listing because the next agent talks about that. And you're like, hey, I do all kinds of stuff. If you're not talking about certain things that are important to the customer, then you're going to lose the deal. The other piece is on buyer presentations. So we leave it up to you guys to decide if you're going to have your buyer sign a buyer agency contract. You decide. What I will tell you is that when you get a listing signed, that is money in the bank. 95% of properties are going to sell. So when you get a listing, sign the contract, now it's a waiting game for somebody to come along and buy it. If you have an active buyer, is that money in the bank? No. Because you're like, we'll see if this person actually buys or if they actually buy through me. A buyer is not money in the bank, with one caveat. It could be money in the bank if you're getting buyer contracts signed every time you're working with somebody. In my opinion, the reason why most real estate agents don't get that buyer agent contract signed is because they are not showing any value at the beginning of the relationship. So you get a call from Zillow, I want to go look at 10 Main Street. Okay, I'll meet you there at 2 o'clock, and now we show up and we start showing properties. What if you said, wait a second, happy to show you that property, but let's meet 10 minutes before or half an hour before. Want to go through how I can help you, and then you do a quick presentation on your iPad or your computer. Say, these are all the things I offer. This is the commitment I can make to you. If you're willing to make a commitment to me, would you be willing to sign a buyer agency contract? By the way, I don't know if I have a copy of the book here. One of the classes I did in the last 3 weeks on my coaching call was on Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. He has 2 amazing books. One is on influence and one is on persuasion. And it's the psychology, like the psychology of getting human beings to do what you want them to do. And what Robert Cialdini would say about having somebody sign a buyer agency contract is that the act of getting somebody to sign a buyer agency contract solidifies in their own head, it pushes them to make a decision that they're going to buy a house. Whereas I would argue that many of our agents are working every day with clients who might buy a house and haven't really decided. And maybe if I find the right house. Whereas if you show up, you do a presentation, you show them your value proposition, if you get them to sign, most people under this book called Influence and the Psychology of Getting People to Do What You Want Them to Do, most people will carry out in life the things that they've already said that they would do. So if they put something out to the world, like they're buying a house. If you can get your client, number one, to sign a buyer agency contract to solidify in their own head that they're going to buy a house, and then you get them to make a Facebook post out to the world saying, hey, so excited, we started looking at houses today. The chances of that person not buying a house with you have gone way down. Like they've already put it out to the world, so now they have to carry through with what they said they were going to do to themselves and now to the outside world. So we have some presentations on there. Again, we let you guys decide how you're going to run your business. There are definitely agents that don't do any of the stuff that I just said. But I think Kristen Keegan, by the way, now that Kristen for a decade was a $2 million real estate agent making like 40, 50 grand a year. Now she's an agent making like $250,000 a year. Once you hit that, like now, she's going to keep making, she's a $10 million agent, like every year. So that was a few years ago. Now every year she hits the same level, $10 million. But now that's who she is in her own head. We will always live up to who we believe ourselves to be in our own head. So it's going to take some work, because it's definitely possible she can get to the next level. She could be a 20 or $30 million agent, but first she has to become that person in her own head. But the first step is like doing things that are a little bit outside your comfort zone and trying new things and saying, you know what, I don't normally do a PowerPoint presentation on my iPad, but let's try it. Let's see what happens. By the way, if you go onto the LAER, the YouTube LAER training on YouTube, 2 classes that you should watch are Victoria Meade out of the Bedford, New Hampshire office. First of all, Victoria is fascinating. She's 24 years old and she's already sold 145 houses in her real estate career. That is unusually high for somebody who has only been in the business for like 4 years. It's also super unusual for a 24-year-old because you've got things against you when you are that young going on listing presentations. And so one day I was talking to her and she was like, yeah, I'm about to close my 145th house. I'm like, wait, whoa, where did you come from? And I said, what did you do before you were a real estate agent? And she said, oh, I was a cake decorator at like Market Basket. And I'm like, holy cow, like what happened? Like, how did you get to be who you are? And one of the things that she says that she would attribute her success to, she said, when I show up on a listing presentation or when I show up on a buyer presentation, I do a killer presentation so that the people have zero doubt that I am not the best real estate agent. And I'm like, will you show me the presentation? She says, I will, but it's your presentation. So if you go on to the LAER training YouTube, we did 2 quick. She goes through them in like 10 minutes. She does one for buyers and one for sellers. She uses our presentation. You can see how she's customized it, and you can see how she talks through each piece of it with her clients. But what I will tell you is, like, when you watch her, you're like, yeah, if I had to sell a house, totally would use Victoria. She knows her stuff. And I said to her, I'm like, do you ever get to the end and the people are like worried because you're up against a 20-year veteran and you're 24 years old? She says, I absolutely never get that objection. People are not worried about my age. So I always say that if you're going on listing presentations or buyer presentations and you have to overcome an objection, then your presentation's not good enough. Go back and re-chisel out your presentation so that you've answered whatever that objection is, so the next guy is not asking that. So we've got a few different presentations on there. I'll go through one later. LAER Home Buyers Guide and LAER Home Sellers Guide. These are 2 new packages. Like I said, we're always adding to this. These are guides that we added just in the last couple of weeks, just so you could have a handout, like a branded handout to give to clients. This is in Microsoft Word, so you can just go through. These are just, you can brand these to you. You can cut out anything you don't like, but we did one for buyers and one for sellers, so you could have like a cool little handout to give to your clients, buyer or seller, when you first meet with them. One other thing I want to say about the presentations in the buyer and seller guides. These are awesome tools for classes. So if you're hosting first-time buyer classes or seller classes or staging classes like in your community, you should not have to like start from scratch anything. You could have a home buyer seminar right now and just use this presentation, chop it up any way you want it, but you already have your PowerPoint for that class. Same with seller presentation. You could do a Guide to Selling Your Home. I am also a huge advocate of webinars. So think about that as you're building your business, is that you could put out onto Craigslist or Facebook that you're doing a virtual first-time homebuyer class, and use this presentation, because anybody that is going to sign up for your class, I think it's better than doing an in-person one, because you get what you need, and that is who's signing up for my class, because that is a person who is buying or selling a house. But you can go through, use Zoom meeting or GoToMeeting, do your presentation, use our PowerPoint, and from there set up an appointment with the customer. So there's a bunch of stuff in listing and buyer presentations. There's a pre-listing package, some different brochures. We also have these cool, if you have publisher, we have these cool buyer open house packages. I don't know if there's publisher on this, so we might not be able to view it. Yeah, we won't be able to view it. If you have Microsoft Publisher, what the buyer open house passes are is they print on postcard stock. You need Microsoft Publisher, but it's these passes that you give to your buyer clients, and you say, hey, if you go to any open houses, these are your tickets to get into the open house. You have to give this ticket to whomever the real estate agent is, because one of the things we do as real estate agents is we try to prevent our agents from going to open houses and not announcing that they are working with someone. And we might give them like 20 business cards and say, make sure you give out my card if you go to an open house. Buyer who is not seasoned will not remember to do that. They will not remember why they have 20 of your business cards. Whereas if you have like these tickets that say, present to any realtor when you attend an open house, this is your open house pass. And then it just puts the other realtor on notice that this agent is represented by you. Open house materials. So we have a whole bunch of open house sign-in sheets, disclosures, like the agency disclosures for doing an open house. Here's what I want to tell you is that if you are hosting an open house for your own seller, then your open house sign-in sheet and any disclosures should tell anybody coming in that you're representing the seller. I would guess that 50% of the open houses that our agents do, they are not representing the seller. So just be careful, be mindful, read the disclosures that you're putting out on the table. If you are hosting an open house for another agent at our company, you are not representing the seller. So you just want to make sure your disclosures are appropriate. We have all the disclosures on here. We have different versions of the sign-in sheet. So if you're hosting an open house and it is not your listing, then you would have a sign-in sheet that says, I am a host of this open house. I do not represent the seller.
Is
So
that on there?
yes. Yeah, so we have all different versions. Seller version. In fact, now I'm going to go through the LAER Marketing Center in a little while. All of your stuff when you get a new listing, all of the stuff that you get, like your listing sheet, virtual tour, sign-in sheets, all of it automatically says that you're representing the seller. We're having some additional fields put on there because oftentimes that email comes through to the agent who listed the house, and then that agent forwards that email to the agent who's going to cover their open house. So we're just adding the host-only disclosures there. So if the agent is forwarding that email, it's the appropriate disclosures. And there's different types of open house sign-in sheets. So you'll see super simple sign-in sheets, like give us your name, address, phone number, and that's it. And then you'll see some that are like feedback open house sheets, where you're asking anybody walking through to give you feedback. We are not in a challenged market right now, although we eventually will be when the market shifts again, which it eventually will. And in those markets, when houses take 6 months to sell instead of a week, you're going to want as much feedback as possible to get price reductions. So there's some great open house sign-in sheets that ask consumers to give you feedback on the property. There is a section on here for LAER supplies and ordering. Bless you. LAER supplies and ordering. If you need like shirts, hats, giveaways, if you're trying to do postcards, trinkets, business cards, signs, if you need to order anything, we have a whole section called LAER supplies and ordering, and they're just links to different sites that you can order stuff on. I will tell you that one of my favorite mailing companies is MLSmailings.com. MLS Mailings is a site that hooks into your multiple listing service. So many times agents want to send out postcard mailers when they list a new house. So they want like 200 people in the neighborhood to get a postcard saying, hey, I just listed this new house, here's all the information. Or after you sell a house, you want to send out to 200 people in the neighborhood saying, I just sold this property. MLS Mailings does that, like a set it and forget it, that it hooks into your MLS. The price is inexpensive. I don't remember what the exact price is, but if you go to the website, it'll tell you the pricing. But you set it up, you hook it to your MLS, you upload your logo and your photo, and basically you say, hey, anytime I list a property, I want 200 of these to go to all the neighbors, and it'll just be automatic. You won't have to think about it. So check out that. Anytime you can create like something in your business that is set it and forget it, I strongly urge you to do that, because there's a million things that you need to think about as a real estate agent, and this is the one thing that you just don't have to worry about, that those postcards are going to go out automatically when you list or sell.
Excuse me, MLS, what was that link?
MLSmailings.com.
Is it on that? Is it on
Yes,
that directory?
yes, it's one of these links.
Okay.
CMA software. So the three big, if anybody else uses something else, I'd love to hear it. Cloud CMA, RPR, and Toolkit. Does anybody else use a different CMA program?
So I was exploring Fresh Sales,
Okay.
which it's they have a free version, and then they have different versions that it could be like $12 a month or $50 a month. It doesn't come like Bostino with the website. It's just
Yep.
the CRM. But for starters, it's pretty simple.
Yep. Okay. What was it called? Fresh Sale?
Fresh Sales.
Okay.
It's part of the Fresh Desk Suite.
Okay. I'll check it out. So for doing a market analysis, who uses RPR? Anyone? Okay. When you do a market analysis on a property, there are a few different sites that will help you figure out how much the property is worth. And so one of those is RPR, Realtor Property Resource, and that is a free tool to you if you are a realtor. I think that RPR is the best of all the different CMA programs out there. And oftentimes real estate agents hate paying their realtor dues because they say they don't get a great deal of value. If you're using RPR, the Realtor Property Resource, I'm going to show you a quick demo on it in a little while to show you how accurate it is. But basically it's a website where you put in a property address and it does a complete market analysis. It'll say this is how much that property is worth, this is how confident we are in that number, and then they give you a 50-page report on all the comps, etc. And that is free to anybody who is a realtor. Also, as a member of the multiple listing service, does Niren do Cloud CMA? Do you guys have a CMA program in yours, Innovia? Oh, I'll look into it. MLS, you get Cloud CMA for free, which a ton of agents have been using. And then Toolkit CMA is also an option. Toolkit does charge $8 per month, only in the months that you use it. So we do have a handful of agents that prefer Toolkit CMA as well. So those are the big 3 for doing a market analysis. Real estate letters, we have, I don't know, 50 different real estate type letters on here. So letters to for sale by owners, neighborhood marketing. So these were much bigger, like 20 years ago, that you'd actually send out. A lot of this is stuff that people are doing through Facebook ads now. So less people are doing like neighborhood marketing letters. But if you wanted to do a marketing letter, that's where you could do it. Logos and images. So, first of all, what we have on here is all of the photos and stuff that we post on our LAER Realty Facebook page. All of those images can be found here. So here is where you could find any logo if you're trying to design your own image for Facebook or you're trying to design a marketing piece. All of the stuff you need is under this logo and images. But also you can get like images to welcome a new month with the LAER brand. So literally there's enough content on here that you could do 1 post a day for a year and still have more content. Recently we added real estate quote images. So one of the things we know is from our LAER page, our LAER Facebook page, is that when we post a JPEG image, it gets shared more than like your average post. So we put together 120 images, all branded to LAER. Let's see if I can view it. So we have like 120 of these, and they're all quotes about real estate. So if you're looking for content just to post to Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, you should not have to go very far. You can just use all of the stuff that we've already created for you. And then we have a section for like monthly holiday images. So for example, you know, July 4th is coming up, that you could go on here and pull. We have a bunch of different July 4th images that are all LAER branded, so you can get your social media posts ready for the end of the month. Marketing videos. This is another one that we've just started adding to in the last 60 days. So the other thing that we see is that not only do images get shared a lot on our social media, but anytime we post video gets shared a lot. So we have a marketing team that started putting together like these funny little videos. I don't know if I can. They're short little funny videos that are all LAER branded. I don't know if I'll be able to get one. I'll have to go in through mine in a minute. But those videos are all like less than 2 minutes long. And then the last piece that we just started adding to recently is competitor marketing pieces. So this is anytime an agent gives us a piece from another company, Coldwell Banker, Berkshire Hathaway, Redfin, we upload it to the competitor marketing piece section. The reason for that, if you attend any of our business planning classes, one of the things we tell you is that you need to know your competitor's value proposition as well as you know your own value proposition. So anytime we can get our hands on a marketing piece for one of our competitors, we try to put it here so that like if you know you're going to be going up against Coldwell Banker on a presentation, then you need to know what Coldwell Banker is saying at that presentation, just as well as you need to know your own stuff so that you can differentiate yourself. So you can find stuff under competitive marketing pieces. So that's everything in the library. That is the heart and soul of the LAER Career Day. Literally everything that you need, in my opinion, to run a business is on there. Also, I wanted to point out that if you go through, if you click on Team section, you will find every location we have in the company and which agents work in that location. How you would use this is, let's just say you just got a listing in Burlington, Massachusetts, and you're not in the Burlington area, which is very common now. People are listing real estate all over. You might want to send an email out to all of our Burlington agents to say, hey, I just got this listing. So you'll see I can email this entire unit, and it'll open up your Gmail, and you can now just send an email out to everybody. By the way, you'll see you can also email the entire company if you had something to say. So I always say we're cool with you emailing the entire company, like if you're doing a charitable thing or something like that and you're looking to raise money. If you are selling a product, we'd rather you don't send out an email to the entire company, because we have agents. I don't have a problem with like network marketing and some of the cool companies that are out there. We'd just rather you not send out mass emails to everybody in the company selling your other products. And that's basically it. You also have a section with links that our agents commonly use, but I want to point out that you can customize this. So you can put in your own links, so this is customized to you. We also put links to our two most commonly used websites here. One is LAER University. I'll have Susan do a demonstration on LAER University shortly. And then also, this is super important, this is where you get to the check request. So when you have a closing with us, you'll have to log on to here and you'll go to LAER check request. And it's a form for getting paid at our company. So it'll just ask you some basic questions about your listing, most importantly, your listing or your buy side. And most importantly, it tells us how to disperse checks, especially if it's a seller. If you're a listing agent on it, you'll tell us, like, this is how much the seller gets, this is how much the buyer gets. So once you fill this out, this gets sent over to our accounting department. The first thing that our accounting department does is they verify that the compliance department has looked at the file. So, important to note, almost always you're going to get paid pretty quickly. We're trying to work on like a 24-hour turn time. So for example, any of the check requests and deposits that all came in yesterday, most of those people have already been paid. What would hold up a closing or hold up your ability to get paid is we're missing something in the file. So make sure that the files are complete. You have a team that will help you with it, but that's the one thing that would hold up somebody from getting paid quickly on a transaction. So let's say that you're the listing agent and we're holding all the money. So let's say that we're holding $25,000 in our escrow account for your listing, of which $10,000 is your commission, $10,000 is the co-broke, and then you got $5,000 that has to get paid to the seller. I always say it's a great idea to do your check request on a deal like that you know you're going to need checks at the end of the month. Do your check request as early as possible. That way, like, you might do your check request 3 weeks before closing, but what's great about that is we're going to start like making sure your file's complete. So if there's a missing form, you got plenty of time to get the missing form. Also, we're going to send you your checks early, because the other thing that holds up checks is if you have a deal that's closing like on the 30th or the 31st, because we might have 200 closings that day. So if you know you have a closing, do your check request 2 weeks in advance. You can get your checks 2 weeks in advance. All of our checks are emailed. So we email you your co-broke check, we email you the seller's check, we email you your commission check. You get them all and you just hold till closing. Yep.
Will they all be dated the day of the closing though?
No.
They'll be dated early.
Before.
Okay.
That's my only complaint with Deluxe that I hate. That's the check request, the check system.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm trying to work with them. I would prefer to be able to post date the check, but as of now, that's like a field you can't change.
Because what if it falls through?
So that happens a lot, that deals fall through, but we've never had an issue. Basically what happens if the deal ends up falling through and we've already issued checks, then we see a release come through, we just cancel all the checks out of the system. So technically there's a risk that, like, if you receive a seller's check 2 weeks before closing, I would not give it to anybody. Like, just hold it until the closing date, and then you can either bring it to the closing or forward it to the closing attorney. But those things happen, and then we just cancel out everything, and then we redo a check that's just giving the money back. And I think that's it.
I have a question about the happy agents.
Yes.
Should we pay a fee for a rate every time we use the service?
For Happy Agent?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No. So what the Happy Agent platform is one of the things, so we survey our agents throughout the year. We actually have a survey going out in the next 3 days again, but we try to survey our agents several times a year, asking, like, what are we doing well and what could we be better at? And one of the things that came back last year is that some offices, like, what you can't control is, we try to, like, train all of our staff, our admin people, to deliver super high quality service to our people. You can't guarantee that if you're not, like, monitoring it very closely. So what came back on our survey about a year ago is that some offices had phenomenal staff and support, and their people were super responsive, and then others did not have that. And so we were assuming that if an agent needed something from our staff, that would happen. And so we worked with our leadership council to figure out how we could fix that problem. And the answer was this Happy Agent platform. So basically it's like Zendesk. So if an agent needs anything at our company, literally anything, like, there's nothing that could be too small or too big, just send it to Happy Agent. Because we have 5 people that monitor that all day. That's all they do is monitor that. And when a request comes through, like, hey, I need this flyer, or could be anything, I have a legal issue I need help with, within usually a half an hour, the person who would best be able to answer that question or help that agent gets assigned to the request. Then through our back-end system, we can see how quickly that request is getting resolved. So now it's no longer, I hope that our agent is getting the support they need. What I know is if the request is coming through Happy Agent, there's no way they're not getting the support, because we're on top of making sure that request is taken care of. So that's why I do say, even if you want something from your admin, not a bad idea, just email it through Happy Agent so that we can monitor how quickly. Now, what I do know is that, like, if you see your admin every single day, like, you could just ask them for stuff, and if you feel like you know it's going to get done, then just do that. But if there's ever a question, like, you don't want to worry about it, just email through Happy Agent, and we'll assign it to your admin, and now we can watch and make sure that you're getting the answers and you're getting them quickly. So I think I covered almost everything on here. Oh, the one thing I wanted to point, there is a section on here for coming soon inventory. We're going to eliminate that because nobody's using it. We do have a Facebook coming soon inventory page. If you're not on it, you should go on. I think the link is in here. I'll go through where to do that. But most agents are not putting their coming soon listings on here. They would put them on the Facebook coming soon page because you'll get way more interaction with other agents. Most agents are not looking here, so we're going to end up deleting this entire section very soon. Any questions on the career den? Okay.
For your presentations, do you have a
like a Chinese version?
That's a great question, and I'm inviting you to our diversity team. So, Jenny, and myself and Keishla. I think the email went out right before you joined, but one of the areas that we see a massive need for is that all of our stuff is in English. Like we are not diverse. So we've already had one meeting. It's basically a committee that is meeting once a month to make sure we're truly representing the diverse cultures that we do business with. So what has come from that is just from our first meeting, like all of our consumer brochures we've had translated into Spanish so that we have Spanish versions of those brochures. And we want like listing presentations, buyer presentations, but we don't have it for Chinese, so we will put you on the committee. I'll make a note of that. So
that would be great.
Yes.
Because there's my client speaks Chinese.
Yes.
So they probably want to read English.
100%. That's why, and I'm sure there's others too. Yep.
I was just going to say that because I've talked to Ross about this too. Going on whether those hosting open houses in Malden or Somerville.
Yes.
There's a big Asian population.
Yes.
So we can't tell Ross to have Chinese speaking lenders.
Yes.
But I think their preference would be for
That's
that.
very interesting.
So
All right.
Oh, Rose has a Chinese.
Yes. We're going to put you on the committee, Jeff.
Yeah.
You've been recruited. This whole row right here is our diversity committee, and me and Keisha. But I do think it's so important, and it's a big chunk, and I'm sure there's other like areas and other cultures that we need to like. The other piece is we have a team that's working. We're moving away from the Boston Logic platform that's going to take place in August, and we have a team that meets once a week or
Twice a week.
Twice a week, because we want to make sure we're representing all the different cultures on our website, and also we want to make it easy for consumers who are like need a Chinese speaking agent that they're finding the Chinese speaking agent or the Spanish speaking agent. So that's all stuff. But
even like my client, Chinese, even they can speak English, but they still prefer like mortgage lender or attorney speak Chinese because they think it's easier to communicate.
Yes, because that's one of the things we were putting together for the Spanish community, like a list of Spanish-speaking attorneys and mortgage people. But we need to have that for all the different cultures.
So that would be great.
Yes.
I'd love to join the
All right, done.
Yay.
Let's see if I can quickly go through, and then we'll take a quick break. So that was page 5. I did put some like screenshots of stuff. So like page 5 through, let's see. Page 5 through 19 is just kind of a simple little workbook, but this will tell you about the Career Den. You can't break it, so just go on and like play with it, download some of the stuff. I think it's a great idea that you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to have one new product a month that you're going to use in your business. So it might be a listing presentation, might be a buyer presentation, it might be a guide to buying your house or a guide to selling your house. What I will tell you, so my career was I was a mortgage broker way before I was in real estate. And then I did real estate for a short time, which ended up that I bought the real estate office that I worked for. But I was in the short time that I actually sold real estate, I killed it on expireds and for sale by owners. And basically what my strategy was, I would make all of my materials. So I had this awesome packet for sellers, and it was like everything they needed to know to get their house sold, whether or not they worked with me. So I had all these packets, and I would print them out, and they're definitely not as nice as what we have now, but I would have like these packages all ready, and I'd do like 100 of them. So on a Saturday, I'd print like 100, so I'm ready for the week, and I have them in my car. And then I would each day I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd pull the hot sheet of all the expireds. And by 7 a.m. I'd be out door knocking expired listings, because I was like, what is everybody else doing? Everybody else is like mailing something or maybe calling, but nobody is out door knocking. So I was like, all right, if I go out between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., I'm going to be the first one at their door. And when you show up with a gift, like a package, and you say, hey, I'm Stacy Alcorn, and I noticed that your contract expired with your real estate company. Not sure if you're looking to maybe partner with somebody else, but I want to give you some information. People aren't mean to you. So if you go between 7 and 9 in the morning and you have a gift, usually you're going to catch people at home before they leave for work, and they're not going to yell at you because you've brought like an item of value. And that's like the home seller kit. So create all this stuff like your home seller guide, your buyer guide, like each month come up with something that's totally branded to you and have it ready in your car so that you can go out and start doing business. Page 20, I showed you guys like on the library how to know like if something's a Microsoft Word document or a publisher document. If you are having trouble opening stuff on the career den, it's probably because you don't have Microsoft Office. So
yeah, I ran into that, and I was working with Len.
Yeah.
And he told me I had to switch over, which I've just done.
Okay.
And it works.
So once you have this, you can access anything on our site. Most computers have this automatically, but if you don't have it, that's what you need.
The publisher. I never thought.
Publisher,
yeah, you've been talking about that.
Yeah.
So now it's on there.
Yeah, you should be able to access with that. You should be able to access 100%.
I'll have to check. I don't remember that.
Okay. Page 22, the LAER Marketing Center. I'm going to do a tutorial on that in a little while. In a little bit, I'm going to have Susan do a tutorial on LAER University. On page 26, our website provider for the last 5 years has been Boston Logic. They have a decent tool for real estate agents. So if you have a website through us, it is through Boston Logic. We are working on converting out of Boston Logic. So by August, we're going to be with a new partner, Real Estate Webmasters. And we think their product is even better. One of the things I announced last week, and I'm going to do a video on it this week, is we signed a deal with Waze that all of our properties are going to be advertised on Waze. So what the goal is that we're going to work with the new web provider. We have like a temporary fix for the next 6 weeks so that you guys will get if a lead comes through on Waze. By the way, I don't think like you're going to get 1 million customers that are driving and see a listing and click through and want to buy a house through you. No. It's more about branding and like having something cool to talk about on your listing presentation. But what it will eventually do is click over to the listing on the LAER website so that they can download all the information and potentially turn into a lead for you.
So should we wait to start a website at this point?
So it's totally up to you. It's all going to convert at the same time. So we worked out a deal with Real Estate Webmasters. It's going to be the same price. Normally their website would be slightly higher for a real estate agent, but we worked out something for them to match the price for the real estate agent ones. So if you have a website through Boston Logic, what will happen in August is that one day you'll wake up and your website will have changed a little bit, and now you're with the new vendor. So it doesn't really matter. What I will say the difference is normally I would spend about an hour today going through Boston Logic and teaching it. I'm not going to show you how to do like landing pages and stuff because we're like 6 weeks away from being done with that vendor.
We will communicate with you as it gets closer, and I'm the one that's going to be switching everyone over, so it's a big task, but we'll reach out to you individually, meet with you, and make sure that it's a smooth transition, and you'll be very happy with it. We'll be sending out a lot of marketing materials, introducing it, and telling you why it's going to be wonderful. So everyone will be very happy with it.
So one of the reasons that many agents had a Boston Logic website is because we had a deal with Boost by HomeSpotter. So what Boost by HomeSpotter is, it is a company that makes landing pages to do Facebook advertising every time you list a property. So we had originally worked out a deal with Boston Logic that if an agent had a Boston Logic website that they were paying $39 a month for, when they listed a property, automatically Boston Logic would pay for this boost, a 5-day boost on social media, Facebook and Instagram. So that same deal is gonna apply with the new vendor as well. So what I will tell you is what Boost does is when a property is listed, they create a Facebook ad for the listing, and they do 5 days of advertising to the local community where the property is located. All the leads go direct to you through email. When I say it's a lead, it's somebody's name and email address, and it is somebody that saw the ad on Facebook and they wanted to unlock as many photos as possible for that listing. So what I would say to you is, are these super hot leads? Probably not. However, I would say, me personally, I am not in the market to buy a house, and if I saw an ad for a house in Littleton while I logged on to Facebook, I would not click through and give somebody my email address for more photos. However, if I was looking for real estate in Littleton, or if I knew somebody that was looking for real estate in Littleton, and I saw a little ad over on the side of my Facebook screen, I might give up that information. So although I don't think they're the hottest leads in the world, I do think that they're a lead, and I do know that we have agents that have converted some of them. So when you get that name and email address, if you do something with it, like put them into your LAER marketing center and put them on a drip campaign, you might occasionally convert someone from it. Also, what I would say about the Boost by HomeSpotter is that regardless of whether you ever convert a lead from it, it's something pretty cool to talk about in your listing presentation. So when you're going through all the things that differentiate you as a listing agent, to say one of the things I offer Mr. and Mrs. Seller is that I'm going to do a 5-day boost of this listing on Facebook and Instagram, and an estimated 3,000 people will see the ad. And if you look on page 28, you'll see what a sample ad looks like. The way it works is that you get an email saying, hey, congrats on your new listing. This is the ad we're about to run. You can click through and change any of it. So last year, for 2018, our average number of leads that came through was 27 leads per listing. So last year we received about 27,000 names and email addresses that came through this program from consumers that clicked on one of the ads and gave us their information. At the end of 5 days, you get an email report of all of your leads. So it's a cool report that you can give to your seller and say, hey, this is an extra thing I did on your property in order to get as much exposure as possible. One thing I want to point out is you can use the Boost program even if you don't have Boston Logic. You just have to pay for it. So if you have a Boston Logic site, or with our new vendor, if you have one of their sites, you don't have to pay to boost your ads. It's just done automatically on your listings. If you don't want one of the websites, but you want to boost, you can do it. It costs $49 for a 5-day boost. So that's why we have a lot of agents that have a Boston Logic website, only because they want their properties boosted and not have to pay $49 every time. So just something to think about. They also have a, if you want to boost an open house, it's $24. It's like a 3-day boost, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Everybody has a Boost account. To find it, if you go into your email and type out welcome to Boost, you will find your welcome email from Boost. Even if you don't have Boston Logic, you have a Boost account, so you can go in and play with Facebook ads on your listings. page 30, dot loop. Recently, and we're adding some more, I'm excited to say, recently we went through and recorded some training programs on how to use dot loop. Dot loop is the transaction management system for all the documents that you work with in your career. So your purchase and sale agreements, offers, stuff like that. There are all these cool little hacks. That's why we're recording some more videos. If you go to LAER University, which Susan will go through in a few minutes, if you go to LAER University, you'll find a new section we've added with dot loop training videos. We try to keep them super short and precise for the most important thing. But if you're going in and using dot loop for the first time, we show you how to set up your loops. So at least watch that. But you'll find some other cool hacks. One of the cool hacks that we have a video on is in the last 30 days I had an agent from Acushnet call me, and she was all upset because she had listed a property and she knew that there was going to be a bidding war on the property. And so over the 3 days that the property was listed, she received 13 offers or something like that. And so she brought all the offers to the seller. They chose one of the offers, accepted it, and now the property's under agreement. The following day, after they've accepted an offer, she was going through her emails and she realized there was an offer that she didn't see. And when she opened it, that offer was for more money than the one she accepted. So she's like, what do I do? Like, I didn't even see this email. I got inundated with offers, and now there's like an offer that came in and I didn't even know it was there. So we took care of it. I mean, I told her you have to tell the seller that there was another offer and explained it all to the seller. But what I said to her is, if you watch on dot loop, we have an easy offer hack. And what that easy offer hack is that you can create a link in dot loop where you tell anybody who's going to be putting an offer in, you can put it right into MLS, and it says all offers are due by Tuesday at 12 o'clock and must be submitted to this link. That way all of your offers go into one folder in dot loop. And I said, if you had done that, you could not have lost an offer. And if you didn't, it wasn't going to be your fault because you told everybody to put their offer in that link. So there's cool little hacks in your business, like the little things that you can learn how to use well. Those are going to be the things that save you tons of time and energy and money. And one of the things, my personal belief is, because we offer it for free, and sometimes when you give something for free, people don't equate value with it. One of the best tools you have for your business, one of the things that will save you countless hours and make your life so much easier, is dot loop. It is worth, like, every Saturday morning spending 15 minutes learning something new on dot loop. We have short videos. Dot loop has short videos. Like, we have agents in our company that are doing hundreds and hundreds of deals, and that when you look at the back end of their dot loop, they're not like hacking it like many people, like figuring it out as they go. They have like an organized system of every form they want to present and an organized checklist, and it emails them when certain tasks are due. But that's for an advanced user of dot loop. If there's one thing I could encourage you to become an advanced user of, it is that software, because it will absolutely make your life so much easier. Huh?
I do curious about if you already accept the offer, and then
what happened on that deal?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, so like I told her, I'm like, first of all, we have a duty. We work for the seller, so I said we have a duty to tell the seller.
Yeah.
And whether the seller hates us or not, like, we got to tell the seller.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, the which I talk about in my book, The 7 Secrets, is the offer that they had originally accepted. It had a great deal to do with a well-written letter that the buyer had made to the seller about why they wanted this home. And the seller felt so connected to that buyer because of that letter. They said it didn't matter, that they were fine, that it wasn't necessarily the best offer. But potentially there could have been liability. potentially we could have ended up in a lawsuit.
Yeah, if the problem is like if seller wants that higher offer and then
Oh, 100%.
the buyer already accept if they don't want to back off.
Nothing you can do.
Nothing
The
you can do.
accepted offer is who
Accepted.
gets the property. Yes.
Mhm.
But it potentially could have been a legal issue for the company, or that's why I'm such a fan.
Could they have been required to pay the difference?
Oh, 100%. So I mean, an agent could have lost their commission, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the agent.
Yeah. So it all worked out, but check out the easy offer link, because that's like one way that you never have to worry about it. Like, hey, send all your offers here, and if it's not in here, we're not considering the offer. Page 32, the LAER Daily Hot List. Everybody here should be getting an email every morning of every new listing, every under agreement, and every sold in our company for like the last 24 to 36 hours. If you are not getting this email every morning, send an email to happyagent@laerrealty.com and let us know so we can figure out why you're not receiving it. Or if you're finding that your properties are not showing up on that hot list for some reason, let us know. There are some issues, like for example, it does not pick up New Hampshire buy-side deals automatically. So we have somebody that goes in and tries to watch MLS to see what New Hampshire deals have gone under agreement so we can manually input them. But usually if your deal is not showing up on that hot list, it has something to do with a feed is not working. All of that information is fed from MLS and .loop. The reason this is valuable for you is that if you are not as busy as you would like, the best place, in my opinion, to build your business is open houses. And this is basically a list every day of all the new businesses that's coming into our company. So reach out and offer to do open houses for other real estate agents, because those are potential buyers coming through. RPR, I'll do a little demo on that in a little bit. That's on page 33. I'll do a quick demo just to show you how easy it is. Page 40. This is the old flyer. We need to update this. We do have in-house transaction services. That's the wrong number. If you need a transaction, so what a transaction coordinator is let's say that you are building your business, you're doing 20 deals a year and you don't want to handle the transaction piece. You hate paperwork. And we have an in-house transaction team that will take over as soon as you put a deal under agreement. They'll take over, like dealing with attorneys, dealing with co-brokes, talking to your client, so that you're not managing the transaction. So it's kind of like a personal assistant on your under agreement deals. This says $350, but it's $300. It's the old flyer in there, so it's $300 per transaction. Page 10, Facebook private group. Hopefully everybody is in our private Facebook group. It's called LAER Coming Soon Inventory. Our agents talk on there all day, so it's a great place to see like a new listing coming on the market. Or if you want to do open houses, you'll see agents posting on there that they have open houses available. Also on this page, I talk about one of the important tools is the ROAR report. So our marketing people once a month write a newsletter. The newsletter is for your clients. It is called the ROAR report. It comes to you in Word format. You get an email at the end of every month saying the ROAR report has been published. You click on it, you download the Word document. Our admin staff will help customize it for you as well. But those are meant to be printed and mailed out to your database. Or you can upload it into like a MailChimp and email it to your database. Page 44, the LAER blog. So our LAER blog is open to anybody who would like to write content for our blog. Is welcome to write it for the LAER Realty blog. The reason that I think this could be huge is many of you know that I spent like the last decade interviewing cool people. So I go out and interview CEOs, business leaders, celebrities. I've done 450 plus interviews. And the reason I do those interviews is it creates connections for me. So I get like belly to belly with people who I normally would never have any access to. So think about that. I do have a training class on it in LAER University on how to build a massive, massive sphere of influence by going out and interviewing strangers. Because if you reach out to anybody, the guy that owns the pizza shop in your community, the local CPA, the local attorney, and you ask anybody for an interview, even if it's for your blog, it could be for anything. So rarely does somebody say no to that. Everybody says yes. I will give you the interview. They don't care who you are or where you're publishing it. And so this is an opportunity for you to reach out to people in your area and say, hey, I'd love to feature you on our LAER blog. Can I come out and interview you? In the back of the book, I put questions you can ask. You can basically run with it any way you want. I give you sample questions that I typically ask when I go on an interview. This is great for like getting in front of developers. I have one developer right now, Claudia, I've talked about him with. He's a huge developer out of East Boston, and I wouldn't know him at all, except for I reached out 3 years ago to interview him. And we sat down and did like a 45-minute interview. So when you go interview somebody, you walk in as a stranger, but you leave as a friend. You now know that person better than usually their own family, because we live in a world that is so fast-paced and so hectic, where we have these like I don't even know if you can call them relationships, but like friendships on Facebook. There is very little human connection anymore that you can go out and create human connection. And I feel one of the easy ways to create human connection is by writing about people and interviewing them. So I put it out there for anybody that wants to write. We do have a small group of agents that do put in content for the blog. But
Stacey, can I just add something
yeah.
to that? So in the last 6 years, I've probably made about $60,000 just doing that. And I just contact people through Facebook, their Instagram DM, LinkedIn has been awesome. And that's actually how I've been gotten like my last 3 jobs.
That's
and all of
so
them
awesome.
have been like 20K increases that
That's
otherwise
awesome.
wouldn't have happened. And you know, people, I've never gotten a no. I've gotten ignore messages, but no, that's not a no. That's just, I guess that doesn't hurt my ego. But and you can like, I would really like just have the same email template, just introducing myself. And the best approach, at least for me, I don't know for you how it has worked, is like I just want to learn about you. It's not, I even tell them, like, I'm not trying to sell anything to you. I genuinely want to learn about you. And that it has opened a lot of doors. Great jobs, like my dream jobs, I've gotten them just through that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get them.
So I have a crazy story. I just started interviewing again, and I had interviewed like 4 weeks ago, and it was just a friend of a friend. He's a guy that has, he did a startup company, and he sold it for $173 million 3 years ago. And somebody was like, you need to know this guy, Mike Crow, because he's doing awesome things with like startups and stuff like that. So I got an introduction to him, and I said, I'd love to come interview you. First of all, you learn so much. Like, I tell people that the interviews I have done have been more valuable than like a Harvard education, because I've learned from the coolest people in the world. And so I went and did the interview, and I always bring a package about who I am. I never sell them anything. Like, I bring a LAER package, so at the end I have something to give them, but I don't sell anything. You don't have to sell anything, because people, the natural thing is, when you are sitting with a human being and asking them 10 million questions about them, they will ask questions about you, like, who are you, what do you do, where did you come from? And what results is a friendship. out of that. Anyways, I did Mike's interview in the last 5 weeks, and I haven't even published it yet. But that's why I was late coming here today. He's like, I need to sell my my parents' unit at the Four Seasons in Boston. Another realtor told us it was worth $5.8 million, but I'd rather work with you and your firm. That's from an interview. Like, that's so powerful, because, and I didn't jam like real estate. We barely talked about, like, at the end I was like, because he was asking questions, I'm like, I own LAER Realty, and this is who we are, and this is where we came from. It's like so natural. That's why, like, I prefer that method of building relationships. We give you the classes on how to cold call and how to door knock and on how to do all the BS that every real estate company tells you to do. All of that, in my opinion, is not natural. It is like in your face. It is like uncomfortable. A nice, simple way to build relationships with humans is to reach out and connect with them and say, I'd love to come interview you about who you are. And Claudia is absolutely right. Like, the number of people that say no, definitely I get people that ignore it. But rarely, super rarely, does somebody say, yeah, no, I'm not interested. Everybody says yes. And some of my closest friends, like Ernie Bach, like, he came from an interview, and I reached out to him on Facebook 6 or 7 years ago, and now he's a close friend. I've done Richard Branson, gone to Richard Branson's island, and that was like reaching out through connections to ask if I could come interview you. So few people say no. Super rare.
So
But
you set up a video camera like this?
I prefer not to do video. I think it is definitely a way. Some people do great with video. I prefer not to do video because I don't feel like you're getting who they are as a human. It's a different...
They're uncomfortable.
Because now they're like, they have to be on. I always say, when I reach out, I say, I'd love the opportunity to interview you about who you are, how you built your business. I tell them where I'm going to publish it. I say, because I have a few different places I write for. And I say, if I could get like 30 minutes of your time. And by the way, I ask for 30 minutes, but I block out 2 hours on my schedule, because most, they want to stay. I'm not going to force them to stay, but most are not done in 30 minutes. So I block out 2 hours, and then I'll meet them either at a coffee shop or their place. I'll go to wherever's convenient for them. And I don't like the video only because then they feel like they have to be on. And I always tell them, like, I'm going to write an article and you can review it first. I'm not like TMZ looking to expose something that you don't want the world to know. You can review it before it gets published. But I think that I tell people that the last decade of my life, I have had a backstage pass to life. Like, if I'm going to a concert, I'm going to interview the people first and I'm going backstage. If I'm going like to the Good Morning America, I'm going to reach out first and see if I can interview the people and go backstage. But you can get to developers, you can get to landowners, you can get to... So I tell people, if you want to be the #1 real estate agent in any specific area, if you did 1 interview a week for 52 weeks, you're going to be untouchable in that market, because you will now have 52 strong relationships in that market. On what was the worst day in your business and how did you get out of bed, and how do you bounce back after like severe, like those are the things I'm super, and most people are so transparent, like they'll just share 100% of who they are. But think about this, think about the world we live in. When was the last time you had a deep conversation with another human?
Yeah.
Never.
Thanks to Facebook, it's like 0.
Never. So that's why I'm going to give you something in return, and what I'm giving you is an article about you.
If it's not an article, what would you do with it?
You can just say, I want to interview you.
Oh, and then what?
Yeah, you're interested in who they are and what they're all about.
Because this will force you to have a blog and potentially have a following and all that stuff.
Oh, tell me, like if you Google me, I don't even know if you'll find me for real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll find my 10 billion articles that I've done, because that's many people how I've met them is through.
So where are you publishing?
So
You're
that's
not in the newspaper, but you're publishing.
yeah. So interestingly, I have a website with all of my articles organized in one place.
Oh.
For 6 years, I did the Huffington Post. I was just a free, unpaid contributor, and last year, Huffington Post, or this year, Huffington Post got rid of all of their writers. So there are no contributors anymore for Huffington Post. I also write for Entrepreneur Magazine, and that's why right now I'm launching just my own blog to put all of my current articles, because I don't have a place to write.
Yeah.
So I've been out of commission for writing. That's why I just recently started. But I will say that those articles feed your soul. Like, you're getting to meet people all the time.
So give a suggestion for us.
Yeah.
We were, say, I know, I live in Carver. I have a lot of people I know, influential or not. But I would interview somebody, and then I would take that interview. Where would I go with it for that person to realize the best of that?
So, first of all, I'd say that's why I was always careful to say to our agents that I wrote for the Huffington Post, because then automatically you think it matters where your content is published. That matters very little. That's why I say the LAER blog is fine for that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it matters where it is.
Oh, okay.
So, for most people. I'd also say that, so if you pick your town and pick out, like, who are the 50, or even if you want to do 12 the first year, who are the 12 people I need to know in my town better? And typically I focus on business owners and CEOs because they have a wide network of people. Once you do like 5 or 6, they start like referring you to people. So eventually you don't even have to ask for interviews. People come to you because they know that's what you do, and you're already friends with everybody else.
And you put it on your blog.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, if you put it on the blog, you can also share on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And say, meet X and X person, and that can help, promote.
You can also talk to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And see if they would, depending on the town or how open they are, they could probably even let you put it in their website of
Yes.
we're featuring this.
I was thinking
this
around,
business.
we have Carver Reporter. I was going to
Oh,
talk to them.
100%.
I was going to talk to her and say, hey, can I have a little piece of that column?
Most of those places are looking, the other, I don't see them as much as I used to, but Patch was always looking for content. So if there's a Patch in your area, those places will let you write for them. Like Wicked Local will do it in this market. Yeah.
So I have a question, because I live in Meade, and Meade right now is developing huge. Like,
Yes.
they're redoing their Main Street, they're putting in a ton of housing, they have breweries popping up, like you name it, they're trying to do it. So how would you suggest, just contacting the business owners, or do you go straight to the top, go for the mayor, you know what I mean, how to get around it?
I can answer. So I was in PB too.
Yeah.
Andy was a writer.
Yeah, and
awesome.
yeah, so background. I've been blogging for about 2 months, and it's focused primarily on things you can look me up if you want. Homes that come on the market every week, homes that are sold every week. I'll do a first-time home buyer's tip, seller's tip. Just recently, I did. I don't know, do you know what Holden's is?
Yes.
So I just interviewed Chuck Holden because they're doing the convenience store over, and I already know him. And he actually he told me his dad also just happened to sell his house. And he said, hey Jeff, I was really thinking about you. I really wanted to go with you and whatever, but him seeing me again, I'm probably not top of mind with him in case it happens the next time. So, we can talk about this, even though it's probably competing. But it's just, like Olio is a new place in downtown, like the brewery you mentioned. You should just go there. I mean, they're, and if you can put it on. So what I do is everybody who follows me on Facebook and LinkedIn, I put the links there so they see it every week. So I'm building a following.
Yeah.
And that now I'm becoming more of an influencer right there.
Yes.
Good.
So you can talk, but that's what I do.
Yes. So I say just go to anybody. Because what I'll say is, over the decade that I did it, I kept going for, if you look on, I've done a ton of celebrities, and that's just me testing. I did, for example, I was going to New York, so I reached out to like Meredith Vieira, and Meredith Vieira said yes to
Oh, I love her.
an interview. See, she's great. Like, that's why I do it. The reason I do stuff like that is to prove that oftentimes when you think about going out,
you can do it.
that like we are limited by our beliefs about what is possible for us. Because most people would say, I'm not reaching out to Meredith Vieira, because why does Meredith Vieira want to give me an interview? Yeah, you don't know. So reach out, because you absolutely never know. But I will say, when I first started, I started like just the local people who I want to know. And sometimes some of those people are my closest friends today, and they all have businesses. They are like, if you did one a week, I'm telling you, nobody could compete with you, because you'd have a relationship with literally every mover and shaker in the town. And what I love about it the most is I have felt like that was my advantage, because what I will say is I'm 46 years old. I've been in sales since I was 20 years old, and I'm absolutely not a salesperson. Like, I don't want to sell anything. Like, you don't have to be a salesperson if you have relationships with people. They work with you, so you don't have to like know how to overcome an objection, or you don't have to like go door knock on somebody's house if you have more relationships than the next real estate agent. Because if you look, most of the training in the real estate world, and this is one of the pet peeves I talked to Susan about, like, we're teaching real estate agents how to door knock, cold call, like, buy leads, when, I mean, that'll work, but that's like swimming upstream with the current against you. The easier way is to just go build relationships with people. And you don't have to like jam real estate down their throat or say why you're better. And you don't have to have the best presentation. Like this particular one at the Four Seasons, like I don't even have to present anything. When you have a relationship, they call you and say, I feel comfortable with you, I'd like to list my house with you. So, it's like ninja. Like, but it takes effort, it takes work. Like, it's, at the height of it, I haven't been doing it like I used to, but it was like a part-time job that I had to schedule time each week to book my appointments. On the weekends, I'd spend time, like, transcribing what I had written into notes and stuff like that.
Erin has a question.
So all three of us are brand new agents, and
Yes.
we just wrapped up our buyer agency training, but we have 0 listing experience.
Yes.
So sometimes we hit that sort of like obstacle with reaching out to people that also have a house to sell. So we pump out, our the hay peats and just push them towards them.
we give them to the listings to the group, to the
Yeah.
owner.
So, like, I guess my question is, like, in that situation, please use me if you're looking to buy or you know anyone looking to buy. And I know it's not, like, selling, right? But how would you, like, face that with a CEO and not, like, belittle myself? You know what I mean? Because it's very, like, humbling as a new agent being like...
That's in your head, though, don't you think? I think that's totally... in your own head, that the CEO would, like, you bring value to the table. I don't think it's, unless, like, if you show up with a killer presentation, I don't know, like, don't have limiting beliefs, just ask. Just be like, if you can win the buyer side, of course you should get the listing. Like, you could totally win a listing.
So even if they grill you, and some people may say, well, how many things have you sold? If you know yourself, be prepared for that. If you know that you haven't even sold your first house yet, have the stats from what your office, what your company has sold. Talk about, go back and read the 7 Secrets if you haven't. It's about you being the full service agent, us being a full service company. You want to talk about you, your brand, and the company brand. So say, well, our office has sold, or we have the market share in your town, or whatever it is. The other thing doing a Katie Lance, and going back to the Row report even, but this can go into you being recognizable in your community. Be the mayor of your community. Start with wherever you live or whatever niche neighborhood you want to market to, and go interview the shopkeepers and post those once a month in your Row report so that you get recognized as the expert in your neighborhood. Best place to have coffee, best pizza place. Put a review of a place that you visited. That makes you recognizable and helps the owners of the restaurants and stuff know you as well. But it helps you to be recognizable, and you can use that in your listing presentations as well.
So one thing I want to point out is, first of all, I've never listed a $5.4 or $5.8 million property, right? Because this all goes back to this whole person that I didn't know 6 weeks ago, who then calls and says, I need to list my parents' property at the Four Seasons. He's not like, if you have a relationship with somebody, they trust you, because that is the business we are in. Like, if you can get a human being to trust you, your presentation does not matter.
Right.
Like, the presentation is a tool to help you build trust with somebody who doesn't yet trust you. So that's why for a listing presentation and buyer presentation, I think if you're working with somebody who does not know you, you need to have very good tools to build trust. And like, by spitting out, like, this is who my company is, this is our marketing platform, this is all the stuff, you can build an artificial trust very quickly with somebody that they feel comfortable using you. However, if you were to do that interview thing, where once a week you're going out and sitting down for an hour or 2 hours with a complete stranger and finding out who they are as a human being, and where they came from and how they get through their bad days and stuff like that, when that person is ready to list their $5 million home, they're not asking you for a presentation. They trust you. So that is like, if you can get to that point. I did a video on this not too long ago. There was a guy I sat with, I was recruiting him, and he was a KW agent, and he was in his second year of business, and was doing $6 million a year in sales. And that's phenomenal for a brand new real estate agent. And I said to him, I'm like, well, what is your blueprint? Like, how the heck are you doing $6 million in sales and you're your second year in business? And he said, I own my Chamber of Commerce. So I said, explain it to me. He said, so many people join the Chamber of Commerce and they occasionally use it or barely use it, or he's like, I joined the Chamber of Commerce in Franklin, and he said once a week I reach out to somebody in the chamber and say, hey, I'm so-and-so from Keller Williams, and I'm in the chamber with you. Could I take you out for a coffee because I want to learn about your painting business, and I'm interested in how I can help be of service to referring customers to you. So, in essence, what this guy did is exactly what I do. He's not doing an article. He's reaching out to the people within the chamber saying, can I take you out for coffee so I can learn about you, so I can refer you business. And then what happens is he meets them at Starbucks, spends an hour with them, and now he has a friend. And those friends start referring business in. So that's how he's able to build a $6 million business in 2 years, because that's another tool. Like the chamber is one tool where you're going to find people in your community who are in business, who of course will sit with you for an interview. But
I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna segue to doing my short PowerPoint on Concierge because Jackie just showed up, and then I'm gonna let her speak. Is that all right?
Yeah, so what are you doing? LAER University?
No, I'm gonna do the Concierge. It's on there.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys mind if I use this chair? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's just fine.
Good luck with all of that. Good luck. I look like I got a problem. I will see you Monday.
All right, I'm going to jump back in. I have 3 things that I want to cover with you guys fairly quickly, just because I think these are tools that will help you close more deals. Has everyone received a copy of How to Hire a Lion? Yep. Anybody that didn't get it yet? Okay. So basically, the purpose of that book is that, in my opinion, nobody has ever taught consumers how to select a real estate agent. So that's why people hire like discount real estate agents, because they think that you are the same quality as like a discount real estate agent. So the whole purpose of the 7 Secrets to Hiring a Lion was we will write the book on what sellers and buyers should look for when selecting a real estate agent, so that consumers are not basing their decision on something arbitrary. So, basically what that book talks about, the 7 things that they should be focusing on. For example, chapter 1 of the book is why discount real estate agents cost them more money. So in addition to having the book, which is an awesome tool, like it's a giveaway that you can give out at listing and buyer presentations, we sell them. If you go on to the Career Den, you can buy copies for $3, which is what it costs us to get them printed. Peter Boschman is our biggest purchaser of books. He sends out hundreds of them on a monthly basis. But if you use this presentation, so we have a PowerPoint presentation, and give the buyer or seller a copy of the book, like, you differentiate yourself. You are now different than any other real estate agent who's coming in the door. So I'm going to quickly go through this presentation. The way that you would use this presentation is when you're meeting with a buyer or seller. This is how you would show it. You could use a computer to show it, or like a tablet or iPad. You can open this in PowerPoint or Keynote. You can customize it. You could take out pieces that you don't like. But basically at the beginning of the book, we talk about what a lion in real estate is. And the reason we do that is we want the consumer to differentiate you from the 1 billion plus real estate agents out in the marketplace. So the start of the presentation, I always put this quote, like, everyone says you can't until you do, and then once you do it, everybody wants to know the secret to your success. And we say the secret is we don't listen to everyone. One point I like to tell people, some of the ideas and strategies that are shared in the book and in this presentation are a bit unconventional. So you want to just prepare the person who's sitting in front of you to say, you know what, we might not go with every strategy here, but I want to give you some strategies if you're looking to buy or sell a house, because we might utilize some of those. And more importantly, I want you to realize that I do have a strategy, because most agents are not showing up giving their client or potential client any type of strategy. So then we talk about what is a lion in real estate. It's somebody who's strong, a negotiator of difficult terrain, someone who can easily negotiate multiple obstacles, and somebody who is a true protector of their customers. We then say not every real estate agent is a lion, that typically you might not see lions like out with big ad campaigns and stuff, because basically the best in the business are working by referral. So they're not out doing like billboards along 93 like some of our competitors, because they don't have to. Their business comes from people who already know, like, and trust them. I then talk about LAER, what it represents: community, culture, togetherness, and happiness. and then we go right into the secrets. Secret 1, this matches the 7 secrets in the book. So Secret 1, Chapter 1, same thing. Secret 1 is why discount agencies cost you more. I can't stress enough, I showed you at the beginning of today on the career den, pinned right to the top of the page is how to compete against Redfin. Watch those videos and start learning those scripts, because every single real estate agent, whether it's Redfin or Rex or another type of real estate company, you're going to have to defend your value proposition at some point, and those videos will tell you exactly how to do it. But Secret 1 basically gets the consumer thinking about why discount real estate agents cost them more money. Interestingly, we just shot a video. It's not public. I'm going to send it out hopefully today or tomorrow. But we shot a video recently. I do believe there's a huge difference between a Redfin real estate agent and a full service real estate agent. In my core, that is what I believe. It's a different level of service. And so I had been looking for, I had put out to the company, I said, we need a customer who's experienced both to talk about their story. And we found one, and it was one from last year where this client had worked with a Redfin agent, had their house on the market for 8 months. Property did not sell in a very busy spring market. Lowered the price, couldn't get it to sell, listed with one of our agents, and within 30 days the property was sold under agreement. So it's a great story and she talks about why, she's originally I just wanted to save money. I didn't want to pay a full service brokerage. And what she came to learn is that you get exactly what you pay for. And the whole idea of this in Chapter 1 of that book, by the way, if you listen or if you read that book, it helps you overcome any objection you might have. Like I said earlier, if you're overcoming objections at your listing and buyer appointments, go back and work on your presentation, build in those answers to those items. So Secret 1 is we're explaining to the consumer why discount agents cost more. So this all came from the National Association of Realtors. This is all the things that an average real estate agent does on each transaction, that there's 4,200 minutes of work that is done. And then we point out how much does your attorney, doctor, mechanic, or plumber charge for your time. Then we say that what you get at a full service firm is number 1, agents that are trained. This is huge. I think this is one thing that real estate agents never talk about in their presentations. The fact that you're here today, that you took a day out of your schedule to be here, to learn, to be better. How many of you guys are talking about that in your listing and buyer presentations? Because that's one of the things that differentiates you from so many other real estate agents. So build that into your presentation. Another thing you get at a full service real estate firm, we talk about our automated marketing, our apps and technology to make life easier. LAER 3D, we'll have Tom come in and talk about that. Dot loop, showing time, RPR. So all I want you to think about is many real estate agents don't, because they don't want, they're worried that a seller might talk to another real estate company who might charge less. The big mistake is not approaching that or broaching that subject in your presentation, because the truth is you do go down 93 and there are discount agent boards, billboards all the way down the street. So I feel like it's a mistake if you choose not to even address it. So by addressing it, you're acknowledging that there are companies out there that charge less than you do, but you're getting far less, and the risk to the seller or to the buyer To the seller, the risk is that their house is going to sit on the market for 8 months. You're going to lose marketing time, and you're not going to get what the property is worth. And that's the whole point of the video we have with that one customer. But like, broach it instead of like just hoping that they don't call a Redfin agent. Because either you can approach it and like just put it out there and say, there are companies out there that are discount companies, but this is the difference in what you're going to get. Secret 2 that we talk about in the book is one reason why houses don't sell. Does anybody know the reason? Yes. So there's only one reason. It's very interesting to me because I still get real estate agents who call me and they're like, I need help. I don't know what to do. I can't figure out, like, I've had this listing for 5 months and I don't know, I've marketed it everywhere. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So you can stop right there. I already know what is wrong. It is the price. Because sometimes we don't even, like, we believe, our egos believe that we priced it properly, but the truth is the market is what dictates the price. We don't dictate the price. And if a house is not selling, absolutely positively, one reason why that house is not selling, and it is price. So we need to educate our sellers right from the get-go to say, listen, if we're 2 weeks into this and there's no offer on the property, we got a pricing issue. So educate them. Then we have these 5 keys to pricing right. This all comes from a Psychology Today article that's super old. We've had it built into our presentations for a while. But it talks about how to price something properly for the real estate market. Number 1, appeal to the herd mentality. How do you create a herd? Like, don't price high and have people put low offers. You will create a herd. If you price low, the seller's going to get more for the property. If you can show them that by pricing it down here, we're going to get up here. But if you price it right here, then you're going to get down here for the price. Pricing for real estate searches. So instead of pricing something at $400,000, price it at $399 so that you're going to get a wider swath of people in your search. Don't get creative with price. In this particular article, this is up for interpretation. In this article, it was anti having like weird prices, like $787,777, because they're like, what this article said is when you have a like really strange price in there, that now the buyer's mindset is that there was something wrong with the property, that they took like a specific amount of money to allocate towards getting that item fixed. So they said, just don't come up with a weird number. Contingency plan. You want to make sure your sellers know that you need a different plan. If we're not getting showings or we're not getting an offer, we need to have another plan. And then let them know that it's an ongoing discussion. And then we have some cool graphs just showing the lower they price the property, the more eyeballs they're going to get. By the way, I know Susan showed you the LAER University portal. The best training on there, by the way, is how to build a $10 million business. That is interviews with agents that are all doing over $10 million a year in business. And one of the interviews is with...
Didn't do that yet.
Oh, you didn't?
No, because all the people were here.
Well, she will show you, LAER University. So there's a training program in there called How to Build a $10 Million Business. It's all interviews with agents. And basically they're 45-minute interviews with high-producing agents that are very specific, like what CRM are they using? What does a listing look like for them? Where are they marketing? Are they using social media? One agent who we interviewed is Nancy Rogers. One thing you'll see is Nancy is always on the daily hot sheet. She is consistently one of our highest producing agents, and she is phenomenal at showing sellers that, hey, your house is worth $400,000, but what we're going to do is price it at $325, and we're going to get people to bid up, because what is going to happen is we're going to have so many people descend upon this house when they see $325 that you're going to get $420. for the property. So it's interesting. She's just really good at showing her clients like how to price it so low that you're going to drive the price up. Interestingly, many agents do the opposite. So they say the house is worth $400, but we could price it at $410 because the market might bear. You might get an offer at that. But what I would argue is Nancy probably gets more money in general for her properties by pricing it way lower. And then we talk about the things that the seller can control. Decluttering, a fresh coat of paint, landscaping, staging, etc. One thing I want to point out, this particular presentation is for both buyers and sellers. It covers both ends. And this came right from our career den under listing presentations, buyer presentations. We have a separate version that is just a seller presentation, and we have one that is just a buyer presentation. Victoria from the New Hampshire office, who I told you earlier, go on to YouTube and watch her presentation using our listing and buyer presentation. She uses the other version, the one that's just a seller presentation or just the buyer presentation. Any of them work, or come up with your own presentation. But I think that you'll have greater results, because the thing that you forget to talk about, that could be the thing that you lose a listing over, or you lose a buyer over, because it's something you didn't talk about. So this kind of throws everything in, says we're going to make sure we talk about everything. Secret 3, how to win a bidding war. So you could tell them, if you're looking to buy in this market, we need to create a strategy to make sure that you win the bidding war. I told you earlier that the client in Acushnet, the sellers were fine with the lower offer because the buyer wrote a heartfelt letter about what this home means to them. So it's one way to win a bidding war, especially when everybody else is like competing on dollars and cents. If you are the person that plays to the emotions of the other party, you might just win a bidding war even though you can't pay the higher price.
From experience, that letter thing works like
100%.
Always. Yeah, I accepted an offer on my condo that was like, they wrote me a letter, and how we got our house. There was like 12 offers on our house.
Yes.
We were one of them, and I wrote a letter, and she fell in love with us, and that was it.
100%.
So, it would work.
So I think not enough people do it, but I definitely, it totally makes a difference. In fact, I was at a listing, one of our agents had a broker open house, and it was interesting because the seller wrote a letter about what it was like living in that house, and it was in a little frame, like out with all the refreshments and stuff, and it was for potential buyers who were coming in to like get emotionally connected. So it was like the opposite. And I'm like, that's kind of a great idea to have your seller write like what it's been like living in this house. So another way to win a bidding war is shifting price offers. Some of the photos did not come through on this. Carefully removing contingencies. Another way to win a bidding war is you could have if your buyer has a house to sell, sometimes it's really hard to get an offer accepted. One of the things they could do is sell their house first and move into temporary housing to make their offer stronger. And of course, money talks. So, secret 4, pre-listing home inspections. So this one is slightly controversial. Many agents don't do it or don't want to do it, but the whole idea of a pre-listing home inspection is saying to your seller that one of the ways you can guarantee that they will get more for their property is that the seller could have a home inspection done on their property in advance of listing the property. So the upside to that is if the seller goes out and pays for a home inspection, they're going to find out everything that is wrong with the property. And what you say to the seller is, what many sellers don't realize is that there's 2 negotiations every time you put a property under agreement. And what you don't want to happen is that we stick the house on the market, we get an offer, you're so excited because you got what you wanted for the property, and guess what? They have a home inspection and now they're renegotiating. So what this is saying to the seller, one of the ways we can prevent that from happening is we can hire a home inspector now, because that home inspector is going to go through and tell you all the things that are wrong with the property. Cool thing about that is, number one, if there's anything major, you can fix it first before we put it on the market. Number two, I think that from a negotiating standpoint, when you have an offer come in on the property, or a buyer agent says, I'm going to be putting an offer in, when you say to that agent, I'm going to send you the home inspection that the sellers had done, because when you put your offer together, we want you to know that the roof we priced it accordingly. We know the roof is going to need to be done in the next 5 years. So account for that when you write your offer. It's very different than the way 90% of transactions are done, which is like there's 2 different sides and multiple rounds of negotiations. So we do have some agents that are doing this very successfully.
I said, if you do the pre-home inspection, and let's just say the seller sees it, and something that's not noticeable to the novice, person in construction, is wrong with the house, and they say, no way, I'm not going to share this with them. Like, what do you do in that situation?
I'd say you don't have to share you don't have to share a home inspection. If the seller does the home inspection, they don't have to share it. If there's something glaringly wrong with the house, everybody is supposed to disclose it. So the seller's supposed to disclose it, you're supposed to disclose it. So I just think, so interestingly, Brenda Albert out of our Leominster office, very successful agent. She does this on all of her deals. By the way, home inspection companies, many of them do have a separate product that is less expensive than a full-blown home inspection. They have a seller inspection that they go in, and for less than the cost of a full home inspection, they go in and look at like the major mechanical systems, the roof, like the bones of the house, so that they could do, it's just a abbreviated version of a home inspection. But like Brenda will say that very rarely does she have multiple rounds of negotiating to try to get more money off, because the sellers are saying, hey, this is what's wrong with the house, and the buyers feel more comfortable that they know what's wrong with the house, that nobody's trying to hide anything. So it's different, and like you could say, as you're going through this presentation, it's not for everybody, but it's one way to negotiate the multiple rounds of
the example that I always use on the pre-inspection thing is Martha and Henry. They've owned the home for 50 years. They certainly do not get what real estate is like nowadays. And they've just existed in the home. So they don't, their furnace may be from 1949. What do they get? And, so it can be a great aid in education to helping them to prepare for listing of the house when they don't have a clue what the condition
Yeah, this is why it's different, but this is why staging works too. Like, we live in our houses, and I wrote a blog about this one day because I had a broken Keurig coffee maker that was on my counter for like 4 years, because you stop noticing the broken Keurig coffee maker. Like, at the beginning it was like, oh, I'll get that fixed, and then it's there for a while, and then it's part of the fixture that you don't even notice that you have the broken Keurig coffee maker on your counter for like 4 years. Like, that, people don't see the houses that they live in because you're there every day. So that's why I do think having like a real estate agent, a home inspector, a stager, like, they could come in and see stuff that the homeowner doesn't even realize is there.
Have you found out that if there are buyers that would actually waive their home inspection because you already did a home inspection?
Yeah, so Brenda would say that too. She said there are definitely people that come in and just feel like a high level of, they just feel, because there's transparency, that the seller's like, hey, we know that there's stuff wrong with the house, and we priced it that way. When you put your offer in, you price it knowing that these things need to be done.
I think
so yes.
I think it offers an added confidence too, to know that the sellers did that. Again, remember when I said before that let's take a tour of your house and then sit down? What's the one thing you see so many times is that brown line in the kitchen ceiling. And you say to them, so what was that? Oh yeah, we had a water leak, we had the roof replaced. They did all that work, spent all that money, and never repainted the kitchen ceiling. So obviously that's going to be a home inspection concern. I'm like, geez, guys, finish it up, you know?
They don't see it. Secret 5, like what does matter when it comes to marketing. We talk about all the places we syndicate. This is huge. Like, your photography matters.
Tom will be in shortly.
It matters, like, because your consumers are buying the house in their head before they show up. So, like, they're looking at it, and it drives me crazy when I see, like, iPhone photos in, like, you're just not doing your client any justification, like, by doing an iPhone photo. So, the photos make such a huge difference. Drone video, stuff like that. We talk about our automated marketing attendant. Secret 6, surround yourself with a killer team. This needs to be updated, but I think it's important to talk about your team, because your team is all the agents that you have around you at LAER, the power of our network. Interestingly, last night I was doing checks for a bunch of our agents, and almost every deal I processed last night was 2 LAER agents on 2 different sides, and it was awesome from all different offices. But there's a good chance that a buyer for the property is going to come through one of our fellow agents. I do think it's important to talk about, this is so important, whoever your mortgage and legal partners are, these are the little things that customers don't realize how important it is. Like, when they go off and work with some person who you don't have a relationship with, they don't have a relationship with, like, that's why deals die, is they're working with somebody who is outside of your team, and that person is unqualified to give them good advice. And then Secret 7, the truth about value proposition. So we talk about Mr. or Mrs. Buyer or Seller. Some agents are going to come in here and they're going to tout about all these awards they have. None of that really matters. The things that matter when it comes to selecting an agent, like how committed are they to training and education. This looks better if I were to download it. I just didn't properly download it. Inquiries go to the list agent. This is another reason. This should always be built into your presentation, because it's the one thing that you will forget to talk about if it is not built into your presentation. But the truth is, at many companies, if a lead comes in on a listing, it is not going to go to the listing agent. The lead will go to somebody who's answering the phone. And that agent could be brand new, has zero information about the property, and it is like, with us, the leads go to the list agent, the person who knows the most about the property. You can't see all these questions because it's not formatted properly, because I didn't open it all the way. But the questions, it talks about, like, how big is the company, how many transactions do they do, things like that. You want to get the consumer asking important questions to themselves. And then we go back into what LAER stands for, etc. Moral of the story is, no matter what presentation you use, I think you're crazy if you show up to a buyer meeting or a seller meeting and you don't have, like, a canned presentation, because your success in this business, I cannot stress enough, is going to come down to your ability to systematize everything you do. And when you have a bad day, then you have to look at it and see, like, what could I do to prevent that? What kind of system can I create so that that does not happen again? When you win a listing, like, you want to constantly be tweaking your presentations. So think of yourself as your own little corporation, and you have all these little systems within your business. What I will tell you is that the highest producing agents at our company have all these systems working in their favor on a daily basis. And when I talk about systems, it is that if you go to 20 listing presentations with that agent, all 20 are going to look exactly the same because they know what works. And they have a presentation. These are the things they're going to talk about. So it's canned, all of it. When they meet a buyer for the first time, these are the things that are going to happen. So check out all the tools we have, because we give you the question, we give you listing presentations, we give you buyer presentation. The best agents use .loop to its fullest. So they say, all right, this is another tool I have to systematize my process. You have multiple systems that if you keep tweaking those systems, it's going to be very difficult for you to lose business. And every time you lose one, go back. Many years ago, I built a huge, before I was in real estate, I was a kid and I built this massive mortgage business, and I was the highest producing mortgage originator at my company. It was in Chelmsford. And as a kid, I was in my 20s, I was processing 400 plus mortgages a year. And everybody was like, how can one person do 400 mortgages a year? And it was because I tweaked every system. And every time something went wrong, I'd say, okay, how do I prevent this so it can never come back on me again? One example is, I remember one time, this is going back many years, but I remember a deal back then with FHA. If you were doing FHA financing, they required a termite inspection on the property. I don't think they do that anymore. But FHA always required a termite inspection. I remember I had a deal that went to closing and no termite inspection. So the deal blew up at the closing. It closed eventually, but we couldn't close that day because somehow termite inspection had never been done. So I said, okay, that's never going to happen to me again. So the next day I go back to work and I add something to my assistant's checklist. And all it is attention buyer. Please know that if you're going for FHA financing, it is required that you have a FHA termite inspection. And now this letter gets mailed out every time we do any buyer for a mortgage. That's how you guys need to be in your businesses. Constantly say, what's the one little thing I can tweak? There's a Japanese business philosophy called Kaizen. And basically what Kaizen is oftentimes we're always looking for the big thing in our business. What's the big change I can make so I could start doing more business? Very rarely is there one big thing you can do that's going to turn on a faucet of a load of business. But what you can do is make tiny little incremental changes in your business, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you've come all this way in a year because of all those little teeny changes you made up until then. You want to do?
Sure. And then Tom's gonna
LAER University. Okay.
Tell me it's 5 minutes. Okay, so back to the LAER Career Den. There are a couple of ways to get into LAER University. You can see it right here on the left. I'm not going to click on it, but just so that you know that it's there. Remember that if you do one takeaway from today, it's that what we're trying to do is present you with all of the resources so that on a rainy day or on a weekend when you're looking for something, you know that it's all here somewhere. You're not going to look at it all at once, but someday you're going to have a need for it and you're going to be able to go to it. So when you click on LAER University, you're going to see a whole bunch of boxes. And I'm just going to give you each box is going to look like this. I'm going to call it a module. I'm not going to open each one. I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of what each one represents, and you will be amazed, actually. So the first one is exactly what Stacy was talking about before. Where did the mouse go? Doesn't matter. But when she talks about all the interviewing that she's done, she interviewed Richard Branson on his island, and she has spent years and years, whether it's a podcaster, a local interview, or an international person, by you listening to it, you might gain one piece of information that you want to transfer and use for your own business. So these are great things to look at. The LAER Agent Toolbox is great if you're new to our company. There's a whole bunch of videos in there on accessing your career dashboard, on Imprev, on the LAER Marketing Portal, and Showing Time. How many of you have used Showing Time already? Showing Time is wonderful. I'd like to do some more classes on that. I should put that on my list. One of the things that I think about, two of the things about Showing Time. One is that they are very thorough and customized, meaning that, let's say you have, where's the new mother? The new mother back there? New mother. So you've listed a house of Jenny's. She's got a brand new baby that sleeps from 10 to 11 in the morning and 2 to 3 in the afternoon, and she doesn't want any showings during that time. You can actually block out those times every day and say no showings during that time. Whatever the specific things are, Showing Time is very good about listening and putting those specific rules in. Your kid comes down with the chicken pox, you've got a family birthday party, whatever it is. The other thing that's really good, I find that agents are very good about responding. And when the response comes from the buyer agent, from their buyer saying, well, we would have put an offer in if it wasn't for the rotted stoop, or if it was 20,000 lower, whatever it is, those comments coming back that you then show your seller are coming from someone else other than you. It just lets you off the hook. And if you put your homeowner in, they see the comments right away. So it just helps you to get to the point of a price adjustment if in fact that's what you need. So
there's a free tool for us.
Yep. And I think it's wonderful. Also, I actually helped an agent in the office with it the other day. You can actually input your listings in Showing Time to make appointments for a buyer tour on a Saturday, and actually print out the map and everything for that as well. Boston Logic, again, we're not going to go over that because we're going to a new system. Hi, John. Reach is the first book that Stacy wrote. How many of you got that in, was that in your welcome packets? Yes. So that whole module talks about the first book that Stacy wrote. Business planning and goal setting, again, you get the trend here. Stacy has written all of this. So in November and December, I go to each of the 30 offices and I do business planning and goal setting classes. And it's a chance to review what have you done during the year, what would you like to do differently, things like that. And she wrote this entire module. It just gets you to step back from your life, see what you've accomplished in the year and what you might want to do differently for next year. The Agent Skill Building Series talks about selling luxury homes, the compound effect, which is another buzzword of Stacy's. It's great for spring market. It talks about overcoming objections, viral social marketing, etc. There's a bunch of maybe not things that you need in there, but it's another resource. The Leads module is good. There's 5 webinars in there to help you with following up leads, ways to follow up, scripts to use, different ways to market to leads. Obviously, your turnaround time is really important with that. Appreciation marketing. You're going to see, if you've looked at the articles in Jostle, I just posted the Inman conference that's coming up in Las Vegas in July. I always go to those. To me, it's the single best real estate and social media conference in the world, and it is international. The reason I mention that is the last 2 conferences, they've said, number 1, if you're not doing video, you're nowhere. You got to be doing video, whether it's FaceTime or whatever. But the second one is just the opposite, and it's don't forget the handwritten note. Now remember when Stacy talked about building relationships? Be grateful. Send a handwritten note. Don't wait until after the transaction to ask for a testimonial. Send your client a handwritten note and say, congratulations on your accepted offer. Congratulations on your finance commitment. How are things going? Whatever it is. When you get the mail during the day, you're going to get bills, you're going to get, what do you call it, junk mail, and you're going to get a handwritten note. What are you going to open first? So remember that, so this talks about being appreciative, and your clients will remember that. And you want to be building lifetime relationships, one interaction at a time, and hopefully get future referrals out of that. The next module is about our admins. This is a great education for you to find out what the admins are there to help you with, which is tremendously different from some other companies. For instance, Keller Williams, who you are really an independent person at Keller Williams. In our company, the admins are there to help you, to keep you focused on your business, on selling real estate. If you ever have any questions about that, call Kiki or me, and we'll help you with that. The mortgage tips was written by Bob Gallagher, who is the president of Ross Mortgage. He talks about the partnership with LAER and all that Ross is here to help you with. The Lifestyle Learning Series is about what all of us struggle with 7 days of the week and 24 hours in a day and a new baby, and trying to balance all of that and getting everything done. And Stacy has some good content in that. The Rockstar Recruiting, one thing I can say about this is, let's say you transferred here from Keller Williams. 45 days later, you're in Market Basket and you meet a former coworker, and the coworker is going to say, so how do you like being at LAER? What is your response going to be? You know, it's not so much that you're going to badmouth being at Keller Williams, but you're going to say, it's different and better because, and say how it has affected you. So there's some helpful parts of that. We do teach Brian Buffini, which is a coaching skill setting program. We've done it a couple of times last year. We will probably be doing it again. The last module here is Stacy and I both went to Inman. Well, I've gone for 7 years, but we feel that when we go to a conference, we have an obligation to bring the takeaways back and share them with the office. So that last module is Stacy and I doing a webinar about that. And actually, in the January Inman conference is at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square, and Stacy spoke at this past one twice. So it was quite an honor to have her there as well. So again, tremendous resources for you to have for whatever you're trying to do. I am the director of training. We do a lot of classes. I can't even tell you the millions of different types of classes that we did. We do a 30-day new agent class. We have a lot of speakers that come in. We now are doing a Selling and Buying 101 class, which is learning all of the paperwork for a listing and for an offer, and also how that interacts with Dot Loop. So we've done that a couple of times. I'm actually going down to Plymouth and